sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District will come to order at 1:10. Can y'all hear me out there? It's okay? If we'll all rise, well, first we'll have roll call. You got a thing? I got him, yeah. I got it. You can close it, yeah. Let the record show that we have 7 council members present. Mr. Griffin and Mr. Marinovich will not be attending today. If we'll all rise for the prayer. We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for this parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave men and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We also pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen. Mr. Hinckley, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for attending. We'll move to item 2. There will be no executive session. Item 3, there will be no status report by the Executive Port Director. There are no bids and advertisements. We will move to item 5, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. I'll start with District 2, Mr. Hinckley.
I have none.
I have none. Mr. Burris.
I have none. I have none.
Ms. Cooper.
I have 2. An ordinance to amend the Public Health Fund 2014 operating expenditure budget mosquito control department line item. What?
1 second, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Ms. Cooper. Thank you. We'll move to item 6A, an ordinance to amend the 2014 Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District operating and expenditure budget and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. I will ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hinckley. Mr. Pennison, will you give us a brief explanation?
Thank you, Dr. Gooey. John Pennison, Deputy Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. This ordinance basically moves around to 2011 monies, Port Security Grant monies, into the 2014 budget. The monies were accepted via ordinance 13-186. However, when we prepared the budget, they were not transferred over to the budget. These monies are going to be used for placing new PT pan, tilt, and zoom cameras by our port barge to augment existing fixed cameras. This monies will also provide for the maintenance and upgrades to 2 existing command bridge servers and camera servers, and it will allow us to obtain command post computer tablets for our marine inspectors, obtain fireboat cameras and displays for our vessels, obtain spare parts for cameras and control equipment, radios, and network devices. That's what the purpose of this ordinance is, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pennison. Any questions from any council members? The audience? There being none, the machine is open. And the ordinance is approved, 6-0. Mr. Edgecombe not voting. Yay? Okay, excuse me, 7 approved, 7-0. We'll move to item 6B. There were some blanks in the ordinance that was previously distributed. I will hand out the ordinance with the changes, and the changes will be to fill in the lines on section 2. There were 2 blanks on section 2. And the first if you look on your second page, gives the line item numbers for those blanks, 445-490-2460-427.750, and then the second line, 450-490-2460-427.760. And also, you'll see on that second page, we've added section 4. During the conversations that Port Administration had with several of the council members, there was a legitimate concern as to privacy. So what we have done is we've added section 4 to that to allay some of those concerns, and I will read that section. This will be on line 63. The council mandates that the surveillance equipment authorized to be installed shall be used for the monitoring of the Mississippi River and shall not be used for monitoring zones within the levee system. It hereby authorizes the use of video blanking to render the areas within the levee system unobservable. In the event of an emergency requiring the viewing of the areas within the levee system, such viewing will require the direct authorization of the Executive Port Director and shall last only for the duration of the emergency. So with those changes, I will offer item 6B and ask for a second. Seconded by Mr. Burris. Mr. Pennison, if there's anything further that has to be added, please indulge us.
This is to establish 7 survey sites along the lower Mississippi River. We will utilize the parish towers to install pan-tilt and zoom cameras throughout the port area for the observance of the river traffic.
And Mr. Pennison, it's my understanding that you've had the opportunity to speak with most of the council members regarding this and answer their questions?
Yes, sir, I spoke to all council members.
If there's any further questions from any of the council members, the floor is open for Mr. Pennison.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of questions
Yes.
or comments. The concern I have is on the surveillance side as far as the private properties. Not all of the monitors will be on the river itself, being at some of the towers or across Highway 23, which would be zooming over individual homes. And I believe that's the Myrtle Grove community, Ironton community. So there is an issue with there is a privacy issue, and I think at this time, the need, even though we're talking grant money, I don't think there's as big of a need for us to take these steps at this time and compromise some of the privacy issues. Now, you're saying that it's only going to be facing the river, but even facing the river, you have to go over some of the communities. Now, in Belchase, that won't apply, but in some of the other areas, it will. And that's the concern that I have.
If I may, Mr. Pennison, the section 4 that we added was specifically to address those concerns. Is there anything that we're missing?
No, sir, and to allay some of Mr. Turner's concerns, the video blanking, we can actually draw, that's why I said the levee system. We can actually draw a line down the levee, if you will, in virtual reality, and the camera will not pick up anything under that line. So in effect, that's why we used the levee systems. Anything in between there will not be written to any information. The only time we could view areas within that, it was in the given of an emergency.
Mr. Rathburn, you have any comments about that language? I mean, does it accomplish what we want to accomplish?
Yes, sir, it does. As a matter of fact, Mr. Pennison did consult with me to address the concern that Mr. Turner had raised, and this was the language that I suggested. And
Okay.
it does meet the legal requirements. I understand Mr. Turner may have, concerns beyond that, but it does address them.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns from any council members?
Mr. Pennison, so you can skip areas with the camera. Watch me. The camera is here, right? And the area you want to monitor is right here. Can we skip this area and go to here? Can we skip areas?
Yes, sir. In effect, what we're going to do, say like the tower in Ironton, if we put the camera on the tower in Ironton, we would literally draw a line down the riverbank. Anything below that line towards the camera would not be recorded. So in effect, the community of Ironton or anything in between would not be recorded or visible to operators of the camera unless there's emergency to video within that zone.
Ms. Audrey, would you come to the podium? Just based on what you've heard, what's your comfort level with it?
I still have a problem with it, and I expressed my concerns to Mr. Pennison when he met with the District 6 office. We still, as residents, would have to rely on the intelligence of the port director to be above board. I mean, you know, it's still, I consider that it's an invasion of privacy. And even after hearing what you just said and with the changes that Mr. Gui inserted, I still would have a problem with it.
Thank you, Ms. Audrey.
And Ms. Audrey, I appreciate your concerns and those of the citizens. We tried to make this as unevasive as possible. Please realize that it's only going to be used in the event of an emergency if we do need to look in a certain area. Oh,
Yes.
excuse
Anyone?
me.
Ms. Cooper?
And I can understand everybody's concern with invasion of privacy, but they have some sort of camera right in the back of my house on the river, and I think it monitors river traffic, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, ma'am, but that's not port-related. It's probably Coast Guard, and I really don't know, Ms. Marla.
Well, and my view on this is about 8 or 9 years ago, my husband and my boys and some other guys went looking for shrimp because y'all know that they're commercial fishermen, and they got in an accident with a yacht, and they even had a man, it was a pretty bad accident, they had a man laying unconscious in the water off of our vessel, and my son got knocked off and broken leg and everything. But anyway, this vessel took off evidently up the river, because the Coast Guard and the local police did an investigation, they couldn't find it. But if we'd have had cameras like this monitoring our river, maybe, you know, in a mishap like that, it's a good idea. Because not only the safety up and down the river, safety to local residents when something happens on our coastline. So I'm gonna go ahead and support this because of things like that.
Anyone else? Any further comments from the audience? There being none, the machine is open. And the ordinance is approved 6-1 with the no vote from District 6. We'll move to item 6C. One second, I'll be distributing these changes. An ordinance authorizing the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, the port, to accept funds from Port Security Grant Program EMW 2013 PU 00328, equipping mobile communication tower and otherwise to respect thereto. I'll offer with the changes which are on lines 50 and 51. Those changes give us the budget, the revenue line item number. With that, I'll offer. Seconded by Mr. Burris. Again, Mr. Pennison, any comments?
Yes, Dr. Gui. This is right now the port has a mobile communications tower, and we don't have any equipment on the tower. This is to equip that tower, and it'll have mobile sector radar, a correlator, thermal camera, and day-night camera, radio hardware, wireless devices, and be able to transmit data via the internet or Wi-Fi. The amount of this grant is $425,000. Basically, it's to equip a tower that we currently don't have any equipment on.
Any questions from council members? Audience? There being none, the machine is open. And the ordinance is approved, 7-0. Item 6D will be withdrawn, and item 6E will be deferred. Any new business from the council members? Mr. Warren?
Good evening, Warren Lawrence, 120 Timber Canal, Myrtle Grove. I just wanted to speak on an update and thank Mr. Penniston for giving me the information I had asked for relative to the billboards that were installed and the cost and the process used. I did have a question on it that they did get quotes, and at this meeting, at this place 2 meetings ago, the port director said he had gotten 2 other quotes. Now I'm told that by Mr. Penniston's letter that there was no other quotes. Secondly, is that it seems to me if we're going to spend that kind of money for a sign, and we got to go to Kenner to get a contractor to install the sign without a quote process, without a bid process, I think that is really a slap against Plaquemines Parish, that you telling me we don't have contractors in this parish that could have put up that billboard. And to go out of the parish and not even get a quote from an in-parish contractor, I think is abuse and should not be tolerated. And one other question I had is, what is the maximum expenditure that the director can make without approval of this board?
Mr. Rathburn? I know.
It's in the budget.
I know, it was in the budget, but, I mean, there are some limits, and I think that's
Right,
the answer you're looking for.
And there are, I don't have them to hand right now. There are limits. I don't mind reporting those to Mr. Lawrence. I will email those to him. I have his email address.
Okay.
And
No,
I will let him know what the executive director's limits are.
And I think you ought to let the councilman know, because you know what the expenditure was, and I just want to know if he exceeded his
Wait,
expenditure.
I apologize, Mr. Lawrence. I did not hear what you just said.
No, I said, we know what the expenditure was made.
Right.
And it may be within the guidelines.
It-
I don't know.
I assure you, I mean, that much I do remember. I just don't remember whether it's like
Okay.
50 or
Well,
whatever it is, but
just-
I'll get you that number.
Okay, and get the information to the councilman, too. Thank you.
Be happy to.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Pennington, do you recall what was the cost of the installation roughly? I thought it was like 2,000, some between $2,000 and $3,000 for the installation.
Mr. Turner, just going from memory, Christie may have it, but I believe it was $4,300 for the actual installation of the signs and $2,800 for the actual cost of the signs. So it was about $73.93, as I recall.
Mr. Lawrence, I know you have it.
Yes. He had copied all the councilmen on the quote.
Right, I received it, I just don't have it in front of me, and just so the
Okay.
audience, being that you raised the question on installation, I just want to know in that it should have been someone from the
Yes,
parish. and I
the
want to know
total
what
was
did we-
$6,218.46.
What was for installation?
The installation
That's the only one I'm
was,
concerned about.
Installation was $4,635,
right,
$4,635.
$4,635 to
Yes.
install a sign that's
Yes,
at Port
and,
Shell.
and the
Yes.
graphics work
2 signs, Mr. Turner.
was $3,328. That was from a local vendor in Plaquemines Parish.
Just looking for the cost of the installation,
Right.
$4,600. Thank you, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Item 8, approval of minutes, February 13, 2014 meeting. I will offer, seconded by Mr. Hinckley. Any questions? Machine is open. And the minutes are approved, 7-0. Mr. Hinckley makes a motion to adjourn. I'll second. Machine is open on adjournment. And the port meeting is adjourned. Jeff, you voted? 6-0 at, 7-0 at 1:30.
Call the council meeting of February 27th to order here. Call for roll call. I'm sorry, Kim. At 1:29, let the record reflect there are 7 council members. Absent is Mr. Griffin and Mr. Marinovich. We will dispense with the prayer and the pledge. We have no executive session. We have no proclamations. Do we have a status report from the President's office? Thank you. There are no bids or advertisements. Beer or liquor license, you have some, Mr. Hinckley? I have none. I have one. A resolution issuing a one-day special events for beer and liquor permit for the Paws fundraiser scheduled for March 8, 2014, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 8018 Highway 23, Belchase. Mr. Turner?
I have none.
Mr. Edgecombe, Ms. Cooper?
One, La Matador Inn, 30482 Highway 11, Buras, Louisiana.
All right, with those two, I'll offer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'm being told that I do have one. Hold on one second.
okay.
Plaquemines Parish Special Events, that's the hold harmless agreement. Stand by one. Sheriff Lonnie Greco Sr. has requested use of the campgrounds on April 6, 2014 for his boucherie. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Does anyone know? That's correct. Thank you. The Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's Office has given him permission to use the campgrounds, which the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's Office owns, located at 18038 Highway 23 in Myrtle Grove. He's requesting a one-day liquor license permit for the event. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? With those, I will offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Buras on the liquor license. The machine is open. And it is granted 7-0. We will move to building construction, building permits. I'd like to take them in global, if that's okay with everyone. 4A1, Eustis Engineering, Lake Hermitage Road, drill 4, soil borings, 50, auger borings. Huh? 4? All right, I'm pulling out 4A4. Anyone else? 4A2, John Ryan, Grandpa Bayou, install bulkhead. 4A3, Lobo Operating, Inc., Brenton Sound Area, Block 18, install 4-inch flow line and 4-inch gas lift line. 4A5, Eustis Engineering, East Point Lahash area, drill 3 soil borings and 4 auger borings. 4A6, Aridis US Incorporated, Port Sulphur and Buras area, drill 3 cone penetration tests. Hellas Oil and Gas LLC, West Black Bay, install plow clusters. Drill the SLQQ well number 120 and install well head protector. Williams Oil Gathering LLC, Breton Sound area, blocks 46 and 51. install concrete mats on 3 sections of exposed 20-inch pipeline. 4A9, Hellas Oil and Gas LLC, North Black Bay Field, install pile clusters, drill the SL 195 QQ well number 104, install wellhead protector. With that, I'll offer 4A1, 4A2, 4A3, 4A5, 4A7, 4A8, and 4A9. Did I have 4A6? Did I skip it over? And 4A6, I'm apologize, okay. All right, with those, I'll offer, take up in global, ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Questions? Machine is open on the permits. And they are granted 7-0. We move to 4A4. Joseph Arenos, 495 Morton Lane, Happy Jack, install bulkhead. I'll offer and ask for a second. And Mr. Edgecombe will be present, not voted. Second by Mr. Burris. Questions? Machine is open. And the permit's granted 6-0. We will move to construction permits. No, we just have to read this. Okay. Yellow Cotton Bayside Cabins RV Park, Barbara Pokaney, 2014 Trailer Park renewed, Nels Lane, Boothville. Ms. Cooper? Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Ms. Cooper, just a renewal, huh?
Renewal.
Okay. Machine is open. Permit is granted 7-0. Move to the next one. Gladys Trailer Park, Roe Van Lee, 2014 Trailer Park renewal, Gladys Lane, Boothville, Louisiana. Ms. Cooper? Offer is read. Ask for a second. Mr. Edgecombe? Any questions? The machine is open. Ms. Cooper? And the permit is granted 7-0. Move to D, Satsuma RV Park, Carlisle Rashato, 2014 Trailer Renewal Park, Finnegan Lane, Venice, Louisiana. Ms. Cooper?
Offer is read.
Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Any questions? The machine is open. And the permit is granted 7-0. We will move to introductions of ordinance. Mr. Hinckley?
Oh, now I get to introduce it.
Come on.
I have one here for Mr. Griffin, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the Scarsdale Pump Station project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I have none.
Well, I have a couple more from me now. Okay. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the drainage repairs, Woodland Industrial Park subdivision project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the general fund 2014 operating expenditure budget, coastal zone land department, various line items, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the general fund 2014 operating expenditure budget, flood control department, line items, materials, sand and dirt, and materials, limestone, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the parish president to enter into a contract to oversee and manage the mosquito abatement program for Plaquemines Parish and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Gouy? Dr. Gouy?
None.
Thank you. Mr. Burris?
Yes, sir, I have several. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for public sewage, Bell Chase Treatment Plant, Salah Receipt Project, and the LRA Sewer Improvements Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the improvement Bell Chase Pump Station Number 1 project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the improvement Jesuit Bend Park project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the extension Peters Road Bypass project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the drainage Jesuit Bend project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the waterline extension East Bayou Road to Concord Road project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Burris. I have a few. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan for Plaquemines Parish hazardous mitigation plan update and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan for the communication disaster upgrade project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the general fund 2014 operating expenditure budget, safety department, various line items and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution to adopt the Plaquemines Parish Hurricane Isaac CBD-BG Disaster Recovery Program Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan as required under the State of Louisiana Office of Community Development Disaster Recovery Program. A resolution to adopt the Plaquemines Parish Citizen Participation Plan as required under the Hurricane Isaac Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery CBD-BG-DR Program. A resolution to adopt the Plaquemines Parish Hurricane Isaac Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery CDBG-DR procurement policy as required in the procurement of all goods and services required in the implementation of the Plaquemines Parish Hurricane Isaac CBD-BDG Disaster Recovery Program. A resolution to adopt the Plaquemines Parish Section 3 plan as required under the Hurricane Isaac CDBG Disaster Recovery Program. That is all. Mr. Turner?
I have none.
You have done. Mr. Edgecombe? Okay. Ms. Barber will read them for you. Okay.
An ordinance to prohibit the granting of any permits in Plaquemines Parish regarding the constructing, development, or implementation of any additional freshwater/sediment diversion projects and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution expressing Plaquemines Parish's support to the Save Louisiana Coalition Incorporated and its intent to become an ad hoc member of said coalition and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Is that it? Thanks. Ms. Cooper?
An ordinance to amend the Public Health Fund 2014 operating expenditure budget, mosquito control department, line item, professional services, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to provide and appropriate funds for the allocation of $380,000 for litigation defense and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
That is all. Thank you, Ms. Cooper. We'll move to ordinances and resolution on second reading and final passages. Does anyone take one out of order? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to move to 6NN.
6NN.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the repairs - Port Sulphur Water Treatment Plant Project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Turner, you offering?
I offer.
Ms. Turner's offering. Next for second. Second by Ms. Cooper. Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, this legislation came up last year, and the water treatment plant in Port Sulphur, which is really in Point LaHash, was damaged during Katrina. It was damaged during Hurricane Isaac, and Severn Trent, members of Severn Trent is telling me that it's in dire straits. And the concern we had is that, the funding source wasn't there, but then when I look at the projects in District 6, the funding is there. If we take just with the projects from District 6. And so Mr. Marinovich was carrying it, and I asked him to move on it last last meeting, and he said we were pressed for time, so I went ahead and introduced it so it no longer gets delayed. I had one of the supervisors from ST ask me about it again today, and so would like for us to move forward on it.
Is there anybody from Severn Trent to speak up?
If there's any questions that you guys may have, I can't answer those in regards to the Port Sulphur water plant.
Was this needed? I thought this was a project that is this?
This project is most definitely needed. The funds, Mr. Turner, speaking of the 1.4 million, we're gonna need 1.6. We went back and looked at some numbers from FEMA. The 1.6 million will cover non-FEMA eligible work.
None of this is reversible.
No, sir. That's painting, maintenance type deals or things such as that was not covered by FEMA. So that 1.6 is not covered by FEMA. The 4.5 that's being asked for in regards to the electrical work that needs to be done there, that electrical work is going to happen as per All South, Infinity, and also Severn Trent. The 4.5, even if we ever go to a looping system in the parish, that's our goal. But we still have to mitigate this facility and have it for daily operational use. We still must service the lower end of the parish. And right now, Belle Chase is, I think, a 5 million gallon plant per day, and it's not enough to facilitate the lower end. That's the reason why we still have Bouville and Port Sulphur online. But back to Port Sulphur water plant, this work is most definitely needed. And also, just for your knowledge, the electrical work that is going to be done there will be transferable over to the booster station once that water plant goes offline and becomes a booster station. So the electrical is going to have to be done. And I have the documentation to back that up.
And Mr. Chairman, what I'm hearing is that, from some of the workers is that they're hanging on by a thread, as far as keeping it sanitary at this time. So that's why I don't want to defer it any longer.
Is this project ready to go?
They're able to start moving on it right now, according to, as a matter of fact, I was talking to Mr. Lemaire, Paul Lemaire, about it. And when he first confronted me on it, wanted to know why I didn't approve the project. And I said, well, it didn't even come before me. That's because another council member was handling it. And so they're ready. Severn Trent is ready to start moving on, and some of the work are needed, is long overdue. So this isn't something that we're just going to put the money in. The administration is going to say, no, it's going to sit there. This is a project that is desperately needed, and as soon as it gets approved, Severn Trent is going to start acting on it.
So, Mr. Williams, this is something that we're going to be moving forward with pretty quickly?
Yes, sir. As per DEQ regulations, we have an obligation to supply safe drinking water to the public, and to be in compliance, this funding will allow us to keep moving forward in compliance.
Okay. Well, it's good that we got the funds to where we can move forward with it then.
Thank you, man. Anyone from the audience? Okay, the machine is open on 6NN. And the ordinance is approved 7-0.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I'd like to move to 6DD. Ms. Barber, would you read that?
An ordinance to approve a new pay plan and classification schedule adopted by the Civil Service Commission on January 30th, 2014, to be effective on the beginning of the pay period following 30 days after its approval by the Plaquemines Parish Council, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer next for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Paradellis, will you give us a lightness on this, please?
Good afternoon. Bill Paradellis, Civil Service Director. The Civil Service Commission requested that I move forward with a review of our pay plan, in which we did and hired Creative Compensation Solutions, Mr. Wayne Vicknair, to assist and work with us on the review. And he completed his study, and I sent y'all all a copy of his report. And it's going to help improve our pay plan. It's going to raise our minimum salaries and keep our pay plan more competitive with our surrounding areas. Is there any questions particularly?
Any? Mr. Turner?
Mr. Paradelis, if I understood you correctly yesterday, we're about 1 to 2% below market. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
In our pay plan? Well, on the just the average merit increase is 3% according to your numbers, more than average. If I had to guess at the numbers, and you provided the numbers, but I think it's, I would say, as high as at least I would say over 90% is getting 3% or above. The number of people who falls below 3%, I would estimate is probably less than 5%. And so what that tells me is that at least 95% of the employees will be at market value, at market, or above it. If not now, then next year. And so I think the way in which we're making the change, if we're only 1% behind market value today because of the increases that we made a year ago when we did the cost of living adjustment, if I understood Ms. Ellen correctly, that put us closer to where we needed to be, but didn't get us all the way there. I understand that. And so it was good that the council did that. But today, to move forward with, making this adjustment, and again, I got it yesterday and we talked about it, and I know that there were some scheduling issues. I'm not comfortable with all of the changes that are being, requested. I do think we need to readdress the cost of living raise. Again, we're discriminating there and giving it to a class. And once we do that, then everybody would be where they need to be. The employees would be above the $10 minimum. If not within a year, definitely within 2 years. And so we will have accomplished our goal. So
Well,
anyway, and like I said yesterday, also I needed time to digest it. We just looked at it yesterday.
Well, as I was saying earlier, this revision of the pay plan will remove our minimum salaries up. And I've also showed you and some of the other council members that there's been some very much concern, and maybe got some concern from the council members about minimum waging going up to $10 an hour. What this proposal I have brings our minimum wage from $8.09 an hour to $8.94 an hour. That's our lowest paid person. And that's the starting salary. And as you know, when we hire someone, begin with, we're hiring them below the market value. And after they complete their satisfactory probationary period, they can move up 5 steps, and they are be getting closer to the non-$10 an hour, which we see is going to be mandated one day in the next few years. And what we're trying to do is to position Plaquemines Parish so that when this does happen, it wouldn't be such a big impact to the budget by moving small step this year by moving up 2 pay steps and adjusting the minimum up 1 pay grade. So it is a good movement. It's not that expensive for the parish at present. If we wait more years in order to adjust it, or wait until we get a mandate of $10 an hour, it's going to be very expensive for the parish.
Well, one, we're not just adjusting the minimum with what's being offered here, but to address the minimum, right? If we were to make the cost of living raise equal and across the board, then mission accomplished. Because when we do the cost of living raise, we automatically adjust the pay plan. So we already have, isn't that correct, Ms. Ellen? Because
Yes.
last year when we accepted the cost of living pay raise, if if I understood you correctly, it's required to adjust the plan.
It adjusted the pay scale.
It adjusts,
the
that's
pay
what we're
scale.
talking about. We're talking about
Right.
adjusting the pay scale to address the minimum. So when we give the cost of living raise, we automatically adjust the pay scale. Pay scale, pay plan, same, right?
Well, if you want to change this to a cost of living increase for all employees, it'd be a lot more expensive.
Wait, hang on,
and
wait.
I'm sure the
No, that's not
commission
what
would
I'm saying.
accept that.
What I'm saying is, if we're going to give a cost of living raise, if we make the cost of living raise across the board, which is far more incremental, and even if we lower that amount, then we would be running with market. If we wanted to adjust the pay plan, then all we had to do at that time would be give the employees the cost of living raise, which automatically adjusts the pay plan. That is a true statement, correct? That let's make sure we're clear, because I don't want it to be said that I'm not getting it right. When we adjust the pay plan, no, take it back. When we do a cost of living raise, the pay plan is automatically adjusted. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Speak in the mic so they can hear you.
Could you repeat that again?
When we give a cost of living raise, right, if we were to give a cost of living raise to civil service employees, then that would automatically adjust the pay plan or pay scale, however you want to label it. Is that a true statement?
Not necessarily.
Ms. Ellen, and I'd like for you to respond based on what you told me yesterday. Is that a true statement?
That's the way we've done it in the past.
Therefore, it's a true statement.
The cost of living, if you give a 3% cost of living, your whole scale is going to increase, but all of your employees would receive a 3% cost of living.
Whatever the
That's not what
percentage
this
is,
though.
here's the question. When we give a cost of living raise, if we give a cost of living raise, if it's 0.5% or 2%, if we're saying that we're 1% to 2% behind market, because the market is moving 1% to 2%. So if we were to give a 1% or 2% cost of living raise, then that would keep us in line with market, because we will address the pay plan, won't we? Answer that question. If we give a cost of living raise, will we adjust the pay plan?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
That's all I was asking.
wait, Mr. Cordelis, I have a question.
Mr. Hinckley?
My understanding, the pay plan, or the schedule, if I'm looking at your chart, we can give everyone a cost of living raise, but the chart and the schedule stays the same.
Negative. Yes.
That doesn't change. All we've done is given everyone a 3%, 5%, 10% raise. Now, when you go back and you hire someone new, and if they start off at the blocks are the same. It does not adjust the entire chart.
Correct. Wait a while.
It doesn't, it does not
Mr.
adjust the
Turner,
whole
hold on.
chart.
Tell me when I get the floor.
Mr. Burris has a question. Go ahead.
My question is regarding the statement that we're 1% behind the market. And the statement was made, if we give everybody 1%, then that brings us up to market. I don't believe that to be a true statement, because it doesn't address every position. Is every position in that book 1% to 2% behind market? No. And that's what I understood when I met with y'all. So to say if we give 1% across the board, that covers and puts us at market, every position in this workforce is not behind market, therefore it does not need that 1% adjustment. Is that a fair statement? Thank you.
Mr. Vicknair, you want to come to the podium?
Yes, if I could. My name's Wayne Vicknair. I'm president of Creative Compensation Solutions, and I conducted this study. And what I'd like to do is clarify a couple things. The pay ranges are set up or designed so that step 30 in your grade structure is market for every job, okay? Just because somebody is not on step 30 does not necessarily mean that they're not being paid market, okay? You have some below step 30, you have some over step 30. And the reason for that is, I'm going to use the example of a secretary. And let's say that we look at survey data, and I'm just picking this number out of the sky, but let's say that it says that the market for a secretary is $28,000, okay? What you have to remember is that the market includes secretaries with 1 year of experience, and it includes secretaries with 30 years of experience, okay? That's the reason that you have the ranges, is to accommodate varying levels of experience. So if you were to survey all secretaries with 1 year of experience, you would expect to find that the market's going to be below 28,000. If you were to survey secretaries with 30 years of experience, you would find they're going to be over $28,000. So it's not fair to say that just because somebody is not on step 30, that they're not being paid market. That's the reason you have the ranges. When we did this study, we were not looking necessarily at where individual people were being paid relative to market. We were looking at whether the ranges are reflective of market or not. And so when we say that the ranges, when we're recommending that the ranges move 2%, that does not mean that every individual needs to move 2%. What that means is that the range needs to move by 2%, and according to the civil service rules, what that means is that people just would go down a couple steps, which means they have more growth potential on the end. And to address the question of if you give cost of living increase, do the ranges need to change? They don't necessarily have to change. They have historically, but there's nothing that says that they have to change.
But we do have a precedent, as that's how we operate today, according to Mr. Paradellis and Ms. Ellen, that when we do give the cost of living raise across the board, we do adjust the pay plan. And I thought she said that it was required. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. And what that does, Mr. Chairman, even though you're not addressing the individual, let me go back to the statement that was made earlier. Because we're talking about the pay plan itself, right? So, and if we're behind market 1%, not what Mr. Bierce was saying, everybody individually is at market or below market. No, we're talking about the pay plan. And that market is based on 30 steps, right? Step 30.
Step 30 is the market value,
to
correct.
get us where we need to be, a 1 to 2% would upgrade our scale to where it needs to be. And one way of doing that is doing a cost of living across the board, and it's automatic. The pay plan is adjusted, and we're at market value. That pay plan will shift another 1 or 2%, whatever we make it.
But what you're doing in place of that cost of living is you actually provide merit increases of 3%.
I understand that.
And when we say that the market is moving by 1 to 2%, that includes what people are contributing to merit, because the majority of companies don't have cost of living in today's.
But the question is, right, and what we're dealing with today is adjusting the pay plan. We're
Correct.
dealing with adjusting the pay scale. So let's remove the individuals, right? I'm just saying an effective way of doing it is if you do the cost of living according to the precedent and current approach by civil service. That is, when you do give a cost of living raise to civil service, you automatically adjust the pay plan. And I'm saying is that if you gave a 1%, 2%, 3%, and you don't have to give it every year, but if you gave it, that's an effective way of keeping you, getting you at market value, and keeping you there. Not without having any adjustments mixed in here about this person moving to this step, this person remains on this step. You know, it all gets mixed in, and it's no longer just adjusting it so that it meets market. To address the market issue, give everybody a cost of living raise. If we're 1% behind, make it a 1% raise.
And if you give a cost of living raise of 1 to 2% plus a merit increase of 3%, you will end up going above the market.
Well, right now, but now you're looking at individuals. We're talking about the scale. So pick which way you want to approach it. If you want to approach it in looking at individuals and what the individuals are making and what we're going to give our individuals, then let's do that. Because I'm not going to let you go both ways on me. And then when I'm speaking, we're going to talk scale. And if I talk scale, then we're going to talk individuals. This legislation is about the scale. And one way to effectively adjust the scale would be a cost of living raise that automatically adjusts the scale according to current practice. You saying it it not necessarily has to be that way, but the fact of the matter, in Plaquemines, it is that way. Am I mistaken, Ms. Ellen? Because you're the one who made the statement, and Mr. Paradell has backed it up. Because I don't want to give the wrong impression. I don't want people to think that I'm guessing. I'm going based on what you all told me.
Right. What we
Okay.
did last year was a cost of living increase.
Speaking to the mic so everyone can hear you,
We did
please.
a 3% cost of living increase last year. We adjusted the scale by 3%, and every employee received a 3% cost of living.
But it adjusted the scale.
Yes,
So
it did.
when I made the comment earlier that this would adjust the scale, there was some sidebars saying that, no, it wouldn't. The fact of the matter is, it does happen that way.
With the cost of living.
And my recommendation that's included in my report is that if you adjust the scales every year and you maintain 3% merit increase, there should be no need for cost of living.
Or if you do the cost of living, right? So now you're going to,
But if you do cost of living, you don't need merit.
merit is based on performance. Because
Right.
somebody might get a 2, somebody might get a 4, and then the merit deal, right, that might change. Because before, it wasn't even based on a percentage of pay, it was based on a percentage of the scale, the base scale. We just changed that when I put the legislation on the table the last time. So, but the issue, what we're dealing with here is the scale. An effective way to change the scale is just to do the cost of living raise. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I think
Okay.
everybody understands what I'm saying.
Any more questions from the table? Or, Mr. Perry, you have something?
Only thing I was going to say is that when we reviewed our pay scale, we weren't looking at doing a cost of living, but just to adjust our pay scale so that it'd be more competitive and to get closer to the $10 an hour minimum. And that was our main goal.
Okay.
And we did look at problem areas and had to make some adjustments to those particular classifications that we've had difficulties with. So with that, I just wanted to
Okay.
make that statement.
Thank you, Mr. Anyone else? Machine is open on 6. I'm sorry?
I just have one question.
Mr. Lott?
Last year, when you did the 3% cost of living increase, did the starting pay, like you said, the secretary is making $28,000 before the 3% cost of living increase. After the 3% cost of living increase that was given, did a new secretary that was hired after that, did she make $28,000 plus dollars? Or was her starting salary still $28,000?
Our starting salary was at the beginning of the pay grade, whatever that pay grade was.
So is that $28,000?
No, it was less than that.
It was
No.
less. So in
Wait.
other words, when you give
Did I hit your
what I'm
question?
being told,
Using
what I'm
that
understanding,
example, we had $28,000, but the market value, which would be the midpoint of the range, we hire at the minimum,
Okay.
not at the midpoint.
okay, just let me say, for instance, a starting salary is at $28,000 for a secretary.
Starting salary, yes.
Starting
If
salary is
that's
at
starting salary, then
$28,000
yes,
for a secretary.
We would hire at the minimum.
Okay, if we bare minimum. After a 3% cost of living that the parish gives, does the new employee who comes in after the 3% across-the-board cost of living, does the new secretary who is hired 6 months after the cost of living increase, does her salary stay at $28,000? Or does her salary go up $28,300, whatever the 3% may be?
It would be the minimum automatically, whatever the new minimum is. If we hire someone after there was a cost of living, after that pay scale was adjusted,
Okay.
then
So whenever
definitely we are
across the
required to
board,
mar-
so
to
whenever
hire them at
across,
the minimum. We cannot hire them less than the minimum or higher than the maximum.
so whenever across-the-board increase has been given across the board, the starting salary increases as well.
We have did that in the past,
Okay.
yes.
That's-
All right, thank you, Mr. Lott. The machine is now open on 6MM, DD, I'm sorry, 6DD. And the ordinance passes 6-1 with a no vote from District 6. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Okay. We now move to 6A1.
In or,
Wait, I'm sorry. 6A1 will be withdrawn. 6A2,
An ordinance authorizing the parish president to continue the implementation of the Plaquemines Parish Coastal Plan using funds from the Coastal Bonding Initiative and granting permission to purchase the necessary wetland mitigation credits to offset the unavoidable wetland impacts associated with the construction of the Reach B-2 Fort Jackson to Venice Vegetated Ridge and Marsh Creation Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
you offering, Mrs., I'm sorry, Mrs. Cooper, I'm sorry. Ms. Cooper, you offering?
Yeah, I'm offering as read.
Offer is read, ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Ms. Cooper?
I'll turn it over to PJ, if anybody has any questions about it.
Mr.
Good
Hahn?
afternoon. P.J. Hahn, Director for Coastal Zone Management, Plaquemines Parish Government. Today, this particular ordinance, I'm going to defer to Billy Gus to let him explain it. I have some papers I'd like to pass out to y'all for some of the other item agendas, but this relates to the mitigation in regards to the Reach B2 project.
Thank you, council members. My name is Billy Gust. I work at GCR Incorporated. Plaquemines Parish's Coastal Zone Management Department respectfully requests that you approve the department's authority to purchase mitigation credits for part of the mitigation necessary for the Reach B2 Vegetated Ridge and Marsh Creation Project. Originally, it was a plan that all acreage would be built, mitigation required acreage would be built on site. However, upon analysis of what we believe the costs will be to build per acre at the Reach B2 site, as well as concerns regarding potential sediment availability, we're respectfully requesting that we purchase about half of the credits from the Chef Mentor Mitigation Bank. We still plan on building about 100 acres on site. However, by purchasing the credits, we believe that we're going to be saving the parish substantial money in the multiples of millions of dollars, plus would allow us to construct the project at the desired pace of having construction start sometime with this year. So with that in mind, we respectfully request that you grant this authorization. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6A2. I'm sorry. Mr. Russo?
Benny Roussel, 1012 Epsilon Street. This entails about $6.7 million of the bond money that you borrowed, which is more than 10% of the funds that you borrowed and put the government in debt for. And I basically am opposed to sending this much money outside of the parish for mitigation purposes, as well as outside the hydrological basin that we are in. And we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars so far on research or whatever we've done. We've hired several engineering firms to look at the mitigation. And I realize that, me coming up here is probably futile, but I just wanted to go on record as saying that I'm opposed to spending this type of money, $6.7 million, outside of the parish for mitigation when we have been told all along that the mitigation was going to be done inside the parish. And I believe there are sites that probably could be reviewed, and if they're not adjacent to the existing project, we were told in the past that we would have mitigation banks in the parish. And so I basically rise to say that I'm opposed to sending that much money outside of the parish. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
Yeah, he made some excellent points, and I know this team feels the same way. We don't want to spend this money outside the parish. If this stuff would have been done in the previous administration, we'd have a bank, but we don't.
Okay.
I've been here listening to this character for 7 years talk about the previous administration. If this parish would have given me $65 million, I could have done a lot of work too. So for someone to stand up here who lives in Kenner to send $6.7 million outside of this parish and make the foolish comments that were just made are ridiculous. And I'm getting tired of having to come up here and try to defend the public's interest when we're taking that much money and sending it out of the parish. So you can take that comment about the previous administration and you can drive it back to Kenner with you, with the parish truck that you drive.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
First of all, the money was available to this parish forever. It was done through the oil and gas revenues that this council bonded out, number one. Number two, we will have a bank, and it will be open in a year from now. So
Thank
we
you.
will have a spot, and we have been working that
Thank you,
direction.
Mr. Hahn. I'm gonna cut your comments here. The machine now is open.
Hold it, wait a while, Mr. Chairman.
I'm calling the vote. Okay? We're not gonna get back in squabbling back and forth.
Well,
Okay.
I've got a question on what we're voting on here.
I'm gonna recognize you for 2 minutes, Mr. Turner.
That's fair. Mr. Hahn?
Go ahead.
One of you come to the table. Looking at the legislation, Mr. Russell mentioned something about $6 million. But what I was reading and what I made a note on is the 1.5 million. So what are we voting on here? What are we asking for? Because I'm not clear on it on the legislation. Just what are we asking for? I'm seeing $1.5 million. Is that what we're asking for?
I'm not aware of, I'm looking at 682, and I don't believe there's a in terms of 1.5.
Where do we see 1.5 here? In what part?
I'm looking at line 49. I'm looking at line 41.
Oh, you want 682?
Yeah, I'm reading 682.
This is, I don't have that on mine either.
Okay, mine is labeled differently. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, that's why I'm asking the questions, because I'm hearing different numbers.
Well, I don't know what you have, Mr.
It doesn't matter. It's not, I had a legitimate question. And so let me look at the legislation and give me a chance to respond.
Thank you. I'll call the machine.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm doing.
Excuse me, Mr. Turner.
I'm telling you, I don't have the legislation.
I'll call the question.
No, sir.
Yes, Mr.
Hang
Turner?
on, hold it. I have a right as a council member. I don't have the legislation. I'm afforded the opportunity.
I am
have to at
affording
least
you
give
the
me
opportunity. Mr.
to
Turner,
look
I
at the
called the
legislation.
question. Thank you.
I'd like to ask our attorney to chime in on it. According to Mason's law, I have a right to know what I'm voting on.
Mr. Rathburn, would you respond?
As the rules stand right now, each council member has 10 minutes to comment on an item. So he has not exceeded his 10 minutes at present.
Even if I called the question?
Even if you call the question, calling the question without giving them the 10 minutes is an improper calling of the question at present, the way the rules are presently stated.
Mr. Rathburn, even if I was given 10 minutes, according to Masons, if there's confusion or if I'm not, I have a right to ask the question even after a question has been called to gain clarification on what I'm voting on. Is that correct? Because if you say it's not, then we're going to go to the book.
Well, we can go to the book, and what I'll tell you is that the council has rules in place that trump Masons. And if there's a specific rule that says 10 minutes, it trumps the Mason rules, even if it's in those rules, Mr. Turner.
Okay, that's the minimum that we're required to give him, but on an adjournment, I mean, when a question is called,
That's the only rule, that's at that present.
And that's what I'm talking
If
about.
it's a properly called, if the question is called properly, you don't get comment. The next, I'm just.
listening.
Okay. The next order, if it's a properly called question, the next thing to do is to have it called. There's no time for further debate on the issue.
This isn't debate. I have a right to ask a question when a question has been called.
That is debate,
But hang
sir.
on, no, sir. I
Yes.
have a right to ask the question to clarify what I'm voting on. I'll move on with my question, with my comments then.
Not when
Mr.
the
Chair-
question's called.
Okay.
But it
We'll
was
talk about it
improperly
offline.
called right now, so you
Okay.
do have an opportunity to respond.
Well, I'd like to look at the legislation just a second, being that I had the wrong one before me.
Well, we'll pass over this legislation right now.
Very good.
So Mr. Turner has an opportunity to look at it. We'll move to 6R.
An ordinance authorizing the parish president to execute agreements and related documents to assist Plaquemines Parish with the performances of coastal oceanographic services and establishing a scientifically and technically sound updated mapping of the flood hazard for Plaquemines Parish and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Hahn, would you give us some?
Yes, sir. As you're aware, the state, in the state master plan, it calls for, while it's only small in proportion to the entire state master plan, it's 100% in Plaquemines Parish, and that's large-scale diversions, something I believe this council and a number of other people that live in Plaquemines Parish and surrounding parishes are opposing. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to just stand with our hand on our hip and complain that we don't want large-scale diversions. We're going to have to go after scientific evidence to back up what we're saying, which would include things like economic development, economic impact, excuse me, as well as a number of other things, impacts to the marshlands. On that, I'd like to defer to Dr. Saheda, who will be doing the work in conjunction with some of the other engineers.
Thank you, PJ. Good afternoon. Actually, that, I think, is item O.
Could you just state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Joseph N. Suheda, and the item is O, I think, on the ordinances, which relates to the I can talk on either. I just wanted to clarify that R is actually different than the diversions. Okay. And I will gladly and will present a description of both ordinances. Okay. But let's start with what Mr. Hahn introduced you to, which is the issue of diversions. And so under
And which
O,
number is that one? Which one are we on?
That is actually O.
R-O.
We're on 6R.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize because the one before that was O, and I apologize.
I called 6R.
Okay.
Right.
6R was red.
R was red. Okay, well, let's go to that one. I'll come back to O. As this again relates to the FEMA and our ability to be involved in the LAMP program with FEMA, and with that, we defer again to Dr. Saheda, who has been always working with us on the FEMA issues, and now we're one of 5 parishes in the LAMP program.
Okay, I am Joseph N. Suheda. I would like to briefly describe the ordinance that is being presented to you relating to some work to address the new FEMA maps that came out in November of 2012. These introduced a radical change in the flood elevations in the protected areas for all areas south of Belchase. Basically, the technique that FEMA applied at that time to map the flood threat eliminated the benefits of any of the levees, back levees, and for the most part river levees south of Belchase. What this proposed ordinance is to do is to work with FEMA to correct those issues by participating in what is called the LAMP program, which is Levee Analysis Mapping Procedures. So it gives us a chance to get partial credit for the levees, which has not been granted in the past, as well as, and very importantly for the parish, coordinate our flood protection work with coastal restoration. There's been a lot of emphasis on that by the federal planning, and certainly in the state master plan, there's a lot of emphasis on making sure that each of the restoration projects is done in such a way that it'll maximize the potential flood protection. So this is an effort that would be continued for the calendar year 2014 and allow us to work with FEMA as well as collect some information and do some modeling. And hopefully by the end of this calendar year, we will have then maps that the parish will be, if not totally satisfied with, at least we've taken maximum advantage of any opportunities that FEMA would allow us. And I'll, of course, gladly answer any questions.
Any questions from the table? Mr. Turner?
What's the cost?
It's 75,000 on line 18?
This is $375,000.
Okay.
That's what I've listed on the document I handed out to you. I haven't seen the ordinance. 375 is the
Why
cost.
in the legislation it has 75,000?
I mean, if you want to go with, I can't answer that. I don't know why.
Well, I'm gonna defer this until we have it written correctly.
That's-
I'm
okay,
sorry,
I
Mr.
understand.
Saheda, but this is not written correctly.
And I'm sorry, I apologize
Okay.
for that. I didn't catch that when it was.
Okay, well, I'll defer this.
Wait, 'cause I got you on O.
6O will be deferred by Mr. Griffin's request.
R,
That was R.
right,
That what we were on R.
okay.
Okay, are we getting?
We're going back to O?
O will be deferred
Oh, okay,
at
all right.
Mr. Griffin's request,
All right, okay, I'm sorry.
okay? Okay? 6R will be deferred at this moment, okay? Until the R and O.
Okay. O is the diversion money?
Mr. Griffin would like it deferred at his request, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Are there any questions while we have Dr. Saida on either, on O?
Well, we deferred him, so.
Okay, all right.
We deferred him, okay?
While
Thank you.
you're on the deferral, can we go to X and defer X as well?
Okay, thank you.
And then W, I believe, was,
Can we move to,
Mr. Chair, Mr.
move to
Chair.
6W?
Wait, Mr. Chair, just,
Wait.
will Dr. Saheda have to come back again? I mean, do we need him to come back again?
Yes, because the
Okay.
legislation's not written correctly.
Got you.
All right. Yes. We'll move to 6W.
An ordinance authorizing the parish president to continue the implementation of the Plaquemines Parish Coastal Plan using funds from the Coastal Bonding Initiative and granting permission to perform necessary tasks related to the continued program management, permitting, engineering, and design activities for the Plaquemines Parish Ridge Restoration Program.
Ms. Cooper?
What one are we on? I wasn't at the table.
6W?
W.
Or if it's read, X for second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Mr. Hahn?
Okay, as many of y'all are aware, Reach B2 has been engineered, designed, and we're getting ready to go out for permitting and for construction on that project. The remaining money that's in there, we'd like to go back and tap into that to be able to task the oversight of the rest of the project for our coastal plan in its entirety, and I'll defer to Billy Gust.
Hey, Billy Gus again from GCR. This request is for the continuation of program management functions for the parish's bonding initiative. Currently, the program management team consists of GCR, my firm, Arcadis, a well-known water resource management firm, as well as Elos Environmental. Currently, right now, through the bonding initiative, you are in the starting of creating a true coastal restoration program, in which you have identified numerous projects that the parish wish to get up and going through design and to permit so they can be construction ready as soon as possible. We've currently, through an RFQ process, you selected 7 different engineering firms to start engineering design in each one of those. We are requesting funding for the program management team to coordinate those activities across the 7 projects, as well as to streamline a lot of the activities that can be done programmatically and therefore one time as opposed to 7 times for the projects. And I'll give you an example. Each one of these projects is a marsh and ridge creation project that will require borrow from the Mississippi River. Our team would systematically look at the entire Mississippi River for all these projects as opposed to each firm looking and having to do the same analysis individually for each one of those as well. So that's just one of the examples. Examples also include in terms of looking at mitigation and environmental benefits, as well as understanding and working with the state to make sure that these projects will actually potentially end the state and the feds, NIMS, Wildlife and Fisheries, EPA, all these different groups that these projects can be actually permitted in a speedy fashion. Also, with this team, we're doing something, for instance, making a Section 214 application to the Corps to have a dedicated person who's looking at Plaquemines projects these are some of the things the programmatic team is doing. So this funding would allow our team to continue doing these programmatic functions, which includes coming to you on a regular basis and giving you reports, as well as communications, updates, and coordinating all these different efforts across the board, to which, if you did not have this, we believe you'd have to do this 7 times, and it would save you some money. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the table? Mr. Turner?
What's the anticipated cost?
So the cost is $950,000 divided between the 3 teams. Once again, I know that's a high number. However, if you look at those 7 projects across the board and a lot of the tasks that we're doing as a team once, you will be saving exponentially. I'll give you an example. I'm going back to the river analysis. Your parish's priority is not diversions, and your parish's priority is ridge and marsh creation projects, to which there will be significant coordination needed to understand how much bar you can get out the river, as well as coordination with the navigation community as well. And so those are just some of the examples. I think your next question, Councilman Turner, will be, well, how long will this be for? So this is a continuing program, but the goal for this funding is to get every one of these projects up to a permit-ready status, similar to the QIPA projects, where they do 2 phases, where when you get to a permit status, you feel very confident about your project, that it's a readily acceptable, sustainable project that will be signed off by all contributing agencies, as well as, once again, having the dedicated core personnel there in order to accept and process the permit. Are there any other questions?
Wait, Mr. Beers has a question. Hold on. Mr. Beers?
My question is directed at Mr. Hahn. Can you tell me how much money is left in the bond initiative? I mean, just with the stuff y'all have on the table here today that we either are going to take up or we've already deferred, you're talking about $8.25 million on the table today. How much is left in the bond initiative?
What we're looking at in the bond initiative now would be close to $2 million that's left.
So after this expense, there would be $2 million left? After everything that's on the table?
After everything on the table today, less the stuff that was deferred, the diversions, the 2 ordinances, roughly $2 million. I can get you an exact number, but.
Wait, back up. Tell me this, how much is in the bond initiative right now? How much is left?
We'll look, you have the exact, you have the layout. I'll give it to.
Can I just clarify something, Councilmember Beers? First of all, in terms of when you say left, you allocate a significant amount of money of the bonding initiative to the REACH B2 construction of the project. So that project, the money set aside, that project is, it's not been constructed. So technically that money is still there. When you were talking about, I think one of the things for the mitigation, which I know you're going to bring back up, is that we're attempting to save you money from the original.
Billy, I don't argue that. Okay. I don't want to get into that. Okay. What I want to know right now is because how much money have we appropriated thus far?
I'd have to get, I don't want to lie to you and tell you, throw numbers out there, but I can tell you roughly, we were looking at, if all of this passed today, there would be a couple $100,000 left, although we would.
A couple of $100,000
No,
left.
but we're looking at $8 million based on the savings that we would be doing.
I don't want to, PJ, I don't want to hear that. How much did we bond out? How much have we appropriated? And if we spend what's left here today, either this time or next time, how much money would be left?
If all of the ordinances would have passed today, we would have had a couple $100,000 left.
And that's it?
And that would be it, yes, sir.
Thank you. That's a direct answer to a direct question.
Mr. Turner?
2 things. A follow-up to Mr. Beers' question. So for the $65 million, well, the only thing we will have accomplished is REACH B2?
No, sir. We will have REACH B2, and we'll have under permit 7 projects.
Just under permit, but the only thing we will have accomplished, because the piece that's under construction is REACH B2.
Unfortunately, these projects are extremely expensive. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I think everybody sees when we're talking about building coastal projects, you're looking at an average of $50 to $60 million. That's it, whether it was built in Plaquemines, St. Bernard, Jefferson Parish, it doesn't matter. These projects are not cheap considering the size of the projects that we're building. We're not talking small projects. None of these projects are small.
Yeah, I do.
All right. You good, Mr. Turner?
One other question. In looking at the legislation, what I heard in the discussion was about the project manager, and that involving being split 3 ways and involving 7 engineering firms. A little pricey, but I'm good with that. I think I understand based on our conversation yesterday. But as I'm looking in here, it not only, that part isn't real clear, but I know about the conversation. But under Section 1, the second paragraph, it says, the parish hereby authorizes the president of Plaquemines Parish, William Billy Nungesser, to enter into contracts and/or execute task orders to purchase or not to exceed the amount of 91.6 credit acres from an appropriate commercial brackish marsh mitigation.
Excuse me, I think you're on the one that we just deferred, waiting to come back to.
What number you all on, 6-1?
We're on W.
Let me see if my 6W looks like. My numbers are off. I'm not looking at the right one. Let me just check this.
Why do you think?
Okay, I'm good with it.
Okay. You good? I have a question for Mr. Beers. Hold on. Mr. Beers?
One last question, PJ.
Yes, sir.
How much was the initial bond issue for?
The initial bond was $65 million, but what we actually got after the bonding fees were taken out were $59 million.
So we got, let's say for round numbers, we got 60 million. With what we've talked about here, you've informed me that we may have 200,000 left. And I hate to put it like this, how many shovels of dirt have we turned with $59 million? And the most important question after we've designed, and I'm not against the bond, I'm not against the coastal restoration project, but where is the money going to come from to build everything that we've designed? Because we don't have a plug nickel to build anything yet.
We do, and I just
Where?
we have $50 million waiting to go out when this, we're going to
Where
bid
is
this
that
project.
50 million
It's sitting in your bank, in the parish bank, waiting for us to get a bid in. When the bid comes in, we will pay that 50 million.
So that was part of the
Yes, sir.
59 million
Yes,
that
sir.
you're talking,
Yes, sir.
okay,
Yes,
okay.
sir. So we will have.
I appreciate that clarification.
Okay. I
Because I'm
apologize if I wasn't
thinking,
clear.
I'm thinking differently than that we're out of money because we
Oh,
keep
no, sir,
talking
no.
about, but 50 million was set aside for construction.
Yes, sir.
And everything else that we're talking about
Correct.
here now is coming out of the remainder.
To
That is
jumpstart.
at least some clarification, thank you.
Yes, sir. I apologize if I wasn't clear on that.
Anyone else at the table? Audience?
So for clarification, I understand now that there's a pool of money set aside for the construction of the Reach B2, and that figure is 50 million?
Yes, sir.
It was at one time 45, now it's at 50?
I don't have that exact number, but if
Well,
you say it was.
my point is going to be this, that if we bid the project and we don't have enough to cover it, and we have $200,000 left in the bond money, then where do we get the excess money to bid it? Because we haven't even bid the project yet. And at one point, we were at 45 million that we had set aside. Now if we're at 50 million, and we only had 59 million, and so we spent 9 million on these type of projects. So I would caution you that we are coming to the end of your term, and if we don't have the money left, in case of a bid that comes in overbid, we will be stuck with projects that we will not be able to build. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
I just want to be very clear that we're not working in a vacuum on this. We are working very closely with a number of companies that looking at this and confirming that this will come in a lot under bid, and that's what we're hoping for.
Okay.
So
Reverend Edwards?
Yeah, I sincerely hope I brought this up maybe a year ago, that this council should be looking at where all the dollars is going. I'm troubled by when folks come up who have a responsibility to keep up with figures, can't produce the figures. I'm not saying, I don't know what the reason is, but it should be readily available. I hope that this council, somebody on this council gets some accurate proof that there is 49 million or there is 59, $1,000, $1 million for construction. Have that hard evidence before you all make any decision in terms of voting, because you shouldn't be up here where people can't answer the question, you know. And so I have some apprehension when people can't answer these simple questions, because they should come here with that kind of information available. So I hope that before this council make any other decision on any of these coastal restoration projects, that they get some hard figures, see if the money's put aside, that they claim is put aside for construction before you do anything else.
Thank you. Ms. Cooper?
I'll ask Angie if she can distribute to all the council members, because finance is keeping, okay, she's getting it right now for us. She's trying to get the information for us.
You want to wait or call the vote?
We can pass over.
We'll pass over 6W. We will return to 6A2.
An ordinance authorizing the parish president to continue the implementation of the Plaquemines Parish Coastal Plan using funds from the Coastal Bonding Initiative and granting permission to purchase the necessary wetland mitigation credits to offset the unavoidable wetland impacts associated with the construction of the Reach B2 Fort Jackson to Venice Vegetative Ridge and Marsh Creation Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Cooper? You want to?
I think we had passed over
No,
for questions, right?
We returned back to the, yeah.
Okay.
You want to pass over this one till we get the
Yeah, I
figures
guess
from
we'll
Ms.
pass
Angie?
over this one too.
All right.
It won't take her long to
Okay.
get the figures.
All right. We will move to 6A3.
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the bid received for the leasing of Track B1 Venice Marina, Venice, Louisiana, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Cooper?
Oh,
Offered by Ms. Cooper, ask for a second. I'll second. Second by Mr. Burris. Ms. Cooper?
this is a part of, the Venice Boat Harbor and the Venice Boat Harbor property that was subdivided because, we had people interested, and it went out for bid, and the Venice, Deep Delta Houseboats apparently won the bid for this tract of land.
Okay, any questions from Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we should accept the bid because of the cost. You're looking at $328 a month, and I don't think we should be leasing any of our properties, especially of that nature, for less than $1,000 a month. And when you read through the material, it talks about, I think maybe the last page of the packet, letter B talks about recreational vehicle park. The current expansion has caused the loss of 16 RV spots that were located in the expansion area. And so in essence, what this does is, right, this opens up for 16 slots for campers. Maybe it's in this parking area now. They can shift the parking, still have the 16 sites. And so we're creating an area at the marina where this gentleman will have 16 sites and we only renting it for $325 a month. I say no, because of the cost. Nothing to do with the individual, but at $328 a month, I don't think we should accept that bid. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Anyone else? Audience? The machine is open on 6A3. And the ordinance passes 5-1. Move to 6A4. Deferred, I'm sorry. 6A4 will be deferred. 6A5.
An ordinance to amend and as amended to reenact Section 20-5 of Chapter 20, subdivisions of the Code of Ordinance, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to increase the fees of subdivision and re-subdivision applications and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Ms. Phyllis, can you help us with this?
We're trying to raise the zoning of the subdivision fees. We haven't had a fee raised, and I can't tell you when. But the problem we're having is we're coming out of pocket on different things pertaining to re-subdivision that the applicant is not taking up.
Okay, thank you.
Phyllis.
Hold.
Go ahead.
I want to ask Mr. Beers one question. Mr. Beers, this was a legislation that we're trying to move up the fees
Yes, sir.
to a
Basically,
comparable rate.
I think it was Councilmember Marinovich asked for us to kind of look into this and do an inquiry because the council was receiving bills from the clerk's office to record the various re-subdivisions and map changes. And after doing some research, basically the Planning and Zoning Board, the average taxpayer, is subsidizing the recordation costs, the advertising cost associated with both map changes and also re-subdivision changes. So we, I think at least twice, we've sent out to all the council members a chart kind of showing some of our neighboring parishes, and what we're trying to do is be on par with them and basically cover our expenses. The legal department has some legal questions and concerns about subsidizing private citizens re-subdivision and map changes. So that's what we're trying to do, and we think we're in line with the other parishes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hinckley?
Well, Dr. Gouy and I, we're having some ongoing meetings with Mr. Metcalf on these types of issues right here. I'm fine with this right now, but I just want it to be known that at the end of the day, we still may be coming back and maybe even increasing these right here.
Well, obviously, anytime the council wants to consider the fees of any department, they're more than willing to do so. This issue, the planning and zoning issue, is something I work hand in hand with Phyllis on, and so that's why this is maybe coming before that issue. But this has nothing to do with permits. This is strictly planning and zoning. But you know, once the council does a more thorough review, certainly we'll look at whatever you guys propose.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beers. Okay, anyone else at the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6A5. And the ordinance passes 6-1 with a no vote from District 6. We will move to 6A6.
An ordinance to amend and as amended reenact certain provisions of ordinance number 142, the comprehensive zoning ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to increase zoning application and petition fees and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Rennie?
Yes, sir. This is the, I kind of spoke about both ordinances previously. One ordinance addresses zoning map changes. In another ordinance addresses subdivision, re-subdivision fees. So because the fees are in separate parts or different parts of the Code of Ordinances, I just did two ordinances.
Okay.
But essentially, it's the same issues.
Thank you. Any questions from the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6A6. Ms. Cooper? And the ordinance is approved 6-1 with a no vote from District 6. We move to 6A7. Deferred. 6A8. Move forward, Ms. Barber.
An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of Lot 3B1A, Albert S. Johnson Partition, Empire, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into lots AJ-1 through AJ-8 inclusive, Empire, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plans and plat of survey by Hugh McCurdy III, PLS dated November 11, 2013. The owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Edgecombe? Offer second, ask for a second. I'll second it. Mr. Edgecombe?
It's just a basic subdivision of the property in Empire, excuse me, in Empire, below the Empire Harbor on the 4-lane.
Thank you. Any questions from the table?
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
one question. Mr. Edgecombe, take a look at the map, and my question on it is the lot right next to, let me point out to you. The lot size, and what I'm looking at, 54. Is that a standard lot size for us? It just seemed like those two could have been, or should have been combined, as opposed to carving out that 50-foot piece. You know what that was about, Mr. Edgecombe? Does it fit planning and zoning? Is it, Ms. Phyllis? Look, on the last page on the map, Ms. Phyllis, where you have 1B, 2B, right next to it, just juxtaposed to it. The width is 454, is 5468. Is that?
That little strip there goes to AJ1.
No, I understand that. So what we're doing is the
That-
width.
That looks like that might be, maybe, they might use that as an ingress, egress. Because it goes with the AJ1. That's all in the same property.
Okay, I got you. To gain access to
Yes.
A1. Okay, makes sense.
You good, Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Anyone else? The machine is open on 6A8.
I did, but no, I don't.
Mr. Turner? And the ordinance is approved, 7-0. 6A9, Mr. Hinkle? Move forward, Ms. Barber.
An ordinance to amend and as amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map, therein adopted by reference and which is paraphrased thereto, with reference to application number ZMP-2013-7, dated December 3, 2013, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Hinckley offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Gouy. Ms. Hinckley, just a re-subdivision? Any questions from the table? From the audience? The machine is open on 6A9. Mr. Turner?
I wasn't listening to the conversation, so I'm just glancing at it real quickly.
6A9.
Right. And where's this one?
It's in Bell Chase.
Okay.
And the ordinance passed 6-0. We'll move to 6B. I think it's deferred. Mr. Beer. Yeah. We'll pass over 6B, Mr. C is withdrawn. 6D will be deferred at Mr. Marinovich's request. Okay, I'm gonna go 6B, Mr. We'll go back to 6B. Six B is withdrawn. What, I'm sorry? Yeah. 6B withdrawn, 6C is withdrawn, 6D is deferred, 6E is deferred, 6F is deferred, 6G is deferred. Yes. Okay, that was 6, I'm sorry, 6G? It falls. Well, 6, okay. Thank you. 6H will be deferred. 6I will be deferred. 6J?
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan for the railroad crossings upgrade project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Hinckley? Offer with changes.
Changes are on line 6. We're striking out appropriating and we're transferring. Line 15, we're striking out appropriating and adding in the word transferring. Line 16, we're adding from the repairs district to Burmaster Alpha Mildred Streets project. Line 17, striking out funding source, general fund under reserve, undesignated fund balance, and we're also striking out 2013 and adding 2014. And with that, I offer.
With that, you offer, ask for a second? Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Hinckley?
This is a railroad crossing that needs repairs.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
My question and concern on the railroad crossing, is this something that the parish, a cost that the parish should incur, or the railway company?
What we,
The parish, we've been responsible. We've done some cooperative work with each other.
what we've done, cooperative agreement with the railroad in the past is we purchased the concrete crossing, and they actually install them at no cost to the parish. And then in the past, we've supplied, they supplied pipe, and we actually installed it on different applications.
And I guess I see this, for the railroad business, they should be incurring the cost. Here's going to be a $157,000 cost to the parish. And, if the crossing is damaged or is not adequate, they should be maintaining it. That's the cost of them doing business. We shouldn't be absorbing the cost for the railroad company.
But again, that could be because it's a public road, that we're possibly, reason why we're incurring the cost of the railroad crossing.
Right, but in order, the cost of doing business, if they're going to do business in the parish, they need to be good neighbors, right? And so part of it, if the crossing is getting damaged, it wouldn't be damaged, it wouldn't be a rail. So we want the rail, no problem with it, but any repairs that are needed, it shouldn't be a burden on the parish, just like if there's a subdivision, should be at no cost to the parish.
Well, the parish, whenever there's a subdivision, the parish repairs all the lights and sewage and streets and everything else in the parish. And the
Yeah, that's after a period of time. That's after a period of time. But here, this is a business.
This is,
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You good?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
Mr.
believe Mr. Mullen had some information about this.
Okay, Mr. Mullen?
Well, Mr. Chairman, addressing Mr. Turner's concerns. Sorry?
Your microphone.
Can't hear me? Addressing Mr. Turner's concerns, I believe I did some research on this issue probably about more than 5 years ago, and there is a statutory duty on the part of parish and local governments to maintain railroad crossings. This specifically came up at some point in my tenure with the parish, and I researched it, and I could probably dig that research up someplace, but I looked into it because, someone had the same concerns that you did. But I believe there is a statutory duty on the part of parishes to maintain the grade crossings.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Any questions from the audience? Machine is open on 6J. I'm sorry, 6J. And the ordinance passes 6-1 with a no vote from District 6. 6K will be deferred. 6L, move forward, Ms. Barber.
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan for the Empire Boat Harbor Canal dredging project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offer is read and ask for a second. I'm sorry, with changes? Offer with changes, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'll fill in the blanks. On line 10, insert Empire Pump Station. On line 20, insert Empire Pump Station. And with that, I'll offer, sir.
And with these changes, Mr. Edgecombe is offering, and second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Edgecombe?
What this is to actually help complete the dredging of the Empire Canal, which is by the peninsula that sticks in the middle of the Duluth Canal to the Empire Harbor, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Edgecombe. Mr. Turner, you have a question?
Mr. Edgecombe, is that part of the sediment, that line that's going over the levee, is that tied to it in any way? So this is going to be just a separate dredging it out? And just putting the spoil on the banks? Very good.
You good?
Yes, sir.
Any more questions from the audience? The machine is open on 6L. And the ordinance passes 7-0. 6M and 6N will be withdrawn. 6O will be deferred. I'm sorry. 6O will be deferred at Mr. Griffin's request. 6P. 6P will be withdrawn. 6Q.
An ordinance to amend the Road Maintenance Fund 2014 manpower structure and operating expenditure budget, road maintenance - prom department, personal services lines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Hold on just a second, Ms. Mr. Lott, this is,
Yes, what we're trying to do
I
is...
need a second.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
I'll
please
second.
move
I'll
this.
offer. And
I'll
second.
second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Mr. Lott?
Yes, sir. What we're trying to do is we're getting ready to get into the heart of the grass cutting season. At the end of the year, I had 32 positions and two, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Mr. Lott, just not to interrupt you, but are we going to offer this with changes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, let me go back there. Mr. Turner, remove your second, please.
So removed.
Okay. The changes will be, Mr. Lott,
Going from the,
from line 20,
operation, 19.
line 19,
From the operating expenditure budget.
scratch that out.
And going from the,
No, I think scratching out line 20, general fund unreserved.
yes,
All right, scratch line 20, scratch out general fund unreserved, and put in
the
fund-
drain,
fund designated for sewer.
sewer and drain.
Okay. Everyone got that? Line 20,
Sewer fund.
fund designated for sewer. With those changes, I'll offer and ask for a second. And
A second?
Mr. Turner seconds. Okay, Mr. Lott?
Yes, sir. At the end of the year, we defunded 32 positions out of Prome and heavy equipment to get the budget to a zero balance. We're getting ready to get into the heart of the grass cutting seasons. I'd like to put some funding back to hire some vacant positions that I have that I need. 4 tractor drivers, 2 public grounds guys, and a mechanic. The mechanic, we've been advertising for the last 9 to 12 months and had problems filling that position. Same thing with the tractor drivers. Sometimes it takes a period of time to hire somebody, and it's a constant advertisement. So
Okay.
if we could get the funding, I'd appreciate it.
So this will actually bring 7 people to work?
Yes, sir. 4 on the...
4 tractor drivers,
Yes,
1
sir.
diesel mechanic, and 2 greenskeepers?
Yeah, the grounds maintenance is the
Groundskeeper.
0 turns, and the tractor drivers is the 15-footers and the A-booms and ditch bank tractor drivers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open on 6Q. And the ordinance passes 7-0. 6S, well, we went over R was deferred. 6S is deferred. 6T, what's the change?
Okay, Ms. Barbara.
move on 6T. I'm gonna add 'em. Go ahead, Ms. Barber.
A resolution assigning permanent and continual use of the temporary courthouse courtrooms to the parish council for their 2014 Bell Chase meetings, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer with changes. I'm passing out everyone. As you can see, on the original ordinance, on line 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, and 40, by scratching out the time at 1 p.m., inserting 2 p.m., and on line 38 and 40, scratching out both of those, November 13th, 2014, and December 11th, 2014. And on line 20, behind listed below, put comma, unless otherwise I can't read it. Hold on, I can't. I'm trying to read here. Noticed, okay. Otherwise, notice pursuant to the council chairman's direction. With these changes, I'll offer. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. This is just establishing a set time for our council meetings. We've been having a little trouble with the courts, their time running over. I spoke with both judges, and they were accommodating, say if we would move to 2 o'clock, it would help them immensely. So this is just saying we're going to start the meetings at 2 o'clock. Unless there is a cancellation in the court, we can maybe start at 1 o'clock. We have to give a 24-hour notice. So that's why the wording in the resolution was set today. I'll answer any questions. I'm here, Mr. Rathburn. If anybody has any questions?
Just one comment. The meetings should be held in Point LaHash instead of in Bell Chase.
Thank you. Anyone else? The machine is open on 6T. I'm sorry. And the resolution passes 6-1. 6U, Ms. Barber?
A resolution supporting Parish President William Billy Nungesser in applying for a local government assistance program grant from the Office of Community Services in the amount of $124,800 to assist in the purchase of an emergency backup generator for the administration building at 333 F. Edward Abear.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Puckett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Benny Puckett, Grant Administrator for Plaquemines Parish. We've identified and have the opportunity to go after funding to assist in the purchase of emergency generator for the building, one of the buildings. We'll probably need several of them, but this is one. We're looking for money from all different kinds of sources. We have the opportunity at the state level for a local government assistance grant for $124,800. And in order to go forward with it, I need the resolution allowing me to do that.
And Mr. Puckett, no bearing on our budget? This is strictly a grant?
Strictly a grant, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Any questions? Mr. Turner?
Mr. Puckett, what's the funding source within the state? Where is it coming from? And the reason I ask is, you've got several OCD pools. So which pool, what's the actual grant?
This actually comes from, it's not OCD, it's the state of Louisiana through the governor's office, local government assistance grant that comes through the legislation. It is a legislative act that is voted on and appropriated by the state legislature.
What's the fund called? What's the grant?
Local Government Assistance Grant, LGAP, we call it for short.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr.
You good, Mr. Turner?
Yes, sir.
Any questions from the audience? Machine is open on 6U. And the resolution passed 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, can you go back to 6A2, please?
Okay, Ms. Cooper. 682, Ms. Barber.
An ordinance authorizing the parish president to continue the implementation of the Plaquemines Parish Coastal Plan using funds from the Coastal Bonding Initiative and granting permission to purchase the necessary wetland mitigation credits to offset the unavoidable wetland impacts associated with the construction of the Reach B2, Fort Jackson to Venice, Vegetative Ridge, and Marsh Creation Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Okay, it's offered by Ms. Cooper, second by Mr. Edgecombe. Ms. Cooper?
The council was passed out the list of all projects coming out of the coastal bonds. And if you all looked over it and have any questions, I think PJ should have that list now too.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the table? The audience? Mr. Russo?
Just as a point of information, could you share some of the information with the public as to what the balance is and so forth?
Let me do it. Angie, you gonna do that?
Can, Mr. Hahn, can you read it?
Basically, if all of this stuff passes today, we have $50,658 left in our account. We've got a remaining amount of, let me find it here, I'm sorry, I apologize, put my glasses on.
Yeah, this is it.
166,623, so a total of about 52 million, roughly almost $53 million. That's in the account that we could use towards the project.
We have 5 at the table? Okay. You okay with this? All right. Ms. Turner, you good?
Can you give me a minute, please?
Okay, Ms. Cooper.
We're gonna have to defer it because there's a discrepancy in this, it says on this list that 500,000 will be subtracted from the bond money today if voted on 6A2, but 6A2 is asking for up to $6.8 million. It's not specifying any amount of 500,000, and it's not on our balance, it's not asking for $6.8 million to come out either, so that's a big discrepancy there. If you look at 6A2 and Section 1, it says that we are
You
not
deferred
to
that 500.
exceed.
You deferred, the 500 was deferred. If you're talking about the number up at the top, under diversion project,
Okay, that was a diversion project. Well, where does this $6.8 million coming out of this funding for the mitigation bank? Did we set that aside also?
yes, that would be coming out of the construction
Oh, that's
funds,
coming out of
yes,
the
ma'am.
construction, okay, because it's
Because
not
gonna cost
listed
us
on
actually-
here.
I'm sorry, the way, yes, if you read it, it's going to cost us less, actually. We're paying mitigation credits of $75,000 an acre. It would cost us more than that to build.
Okay, and that,
Okay, so
six,
we're-
up to
so we're actually
6.8
saving
million is
money
coming out of
on
the
that.
50
Yeah.
million put aside for construction.
Correct.
Okay, that clarifies that.
You good, Ms. Cooper?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay. Any more questions?
I just want to restate my opposition to sending $6.8 million out of the parish for mitigation purposes. And looking at this report, I'd like to know where on the line item the 6.8 comes out of the $50 million for the construction, So that tells me that you got about 44 million for actually bidding the job, which if you do get a contractor to bid it for 44 million, then we're in good shape. If you don't, then you have very little to take care of any overbidding that may occur. Thank you.
Thank you.
He brought up a good point, and I just want to clarify again that the money that we're, this figure of 6.8 million comes from 75,000 an acre that we're going to have to pay. The estimated 50 million, when we came up with that, with the, working through the dredge companies, was closer to about 145 an acre. So big difference. We don't anticipate it come in that high, is what I'm trying to get at.
Thank you. Anyone else? Machine is open on 6A2. And the ordinance passes 6-1 with a no vote from District 6. You want to move to 6W, Ms. Cooper?
Forward on that one.
Okay. 6W.
An ordinance authorizing the parish president to continue the implementation of Plaquemines Parish Coastal Plan using funds from the Coastal Bonding Initiative and granting permission to perform necessary tasks related to the continued program management, permitting, engineering, and design activities for the Plaquemines Parish Ridge Restoration Program.
Ms. Cooper, your offering, and Mr. Edgecombe has already seconded. Ms. Cooper?
Okay, and this same thing listed on here, it's 950,000 coming out of the balance, which will leave 100, and this isn't counting the construction cost. And it'll leave the balance, well, we deferred the 500,000, so it'll be about 200 and something thousand that we'll have left. Or 2 million, I'm sorry. 2 million and a little bit over that we'll have left.
Okay. You good, Ms. Cooper? Mr. Turner?
This is 950,000 on this one. And what's the difference in this one and the other one with the 950? Again, I didn't have this one in front of me, and Ms. Marcotte has given me her copy.
Mr. Turner, this is to continue on what we have done.
This isn't the project, right? This isn't the project management.
No, this is to move forward on 7 other projects to get them to a draft permit.
Right, but this is for the project management?
Yes, sir.
I thought we voted.
Companies that the listing was given to us, please.
No, I'm good on that.
Okay.
But I thought that one came up earlier, the
Well, we
950.
passed over it. They had one for 500,000 that we deferred.
I got you. I'm saying, hold it, we just talked about it, so just going back to it. All right, my numbers are off, so I've got it. Thank you.
You good? Good, Ms. Turner, you good? I'm good. All right. Any questions? The machine is open on 6W. And it passes 6-0.
Thank you very much.
All right. We'll go back to 6V, will be deferred. 6W we just done. 6X will be, that was deferred. I'm sorry, it was deferred. I was going to say deferred. 6Y.
An ordinance to amend the General Fund 2014 Operating Expenditure Budget, Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Grant Department, UASI, SHUSHUP, IECGP Division, various line items and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. I'll ask for a second. Second by Ms. Cooper. Mr. Puckett?
Thank you, Benny Puckett, Grant Administrator, Plaquemines Parish. What this is, the Homeland Security Department, Emergency Preparedness Department, has a number of grants, as was mentioned in the legislation, where they have a small balance, and that balance, the Homeland Security Director, Mr. Guylagas, wants to move those balances into one fund, and GOSEP has agreed to allow him to do that. And it has no net effect on the budget, but it allows him to move forward and accumulate the little balances that he has left so he can be able to buy a piece of equipment.
This, if correct me if I'm wrong, this is moving line item, just
line item to another line item,
okay.
that's all, yes.
No. Any questions? Ms. Cooper?
And that was all leftover grant
Yes,
fund
ma'am.
balance?
All,
Okay.
all leftover grant money.
Any other questions? Audience? The machine is open on 6Y. Okay. Thank you. That's it, and the resolution passes 5-0. I'm sorry, I apologize. The ordinance passed 5-0. We'll move to 6Z.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the Oyster Hatchery Site Mitigation Project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Mr. Puckett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a grant, our project that is jointly done between Plaquemines Parish and the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Department of Wildlife and Fisheries has another $450,000 that they would like to put into the project. The project is on parish land. It's an agreement that the parish had made in the previous. We're building an oyster hatchery in Buras, and the Wildlife and Fisheries would like to put another $450,000 into that project, and that's what this is.
Thank you, Mr. Puckett. Any questions? Audience? The machine is open on 6Z. And the ordinance passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Puckett, I'm going to move to EE, so you're standing right there.
Thank you, sir.
Move to EE, please, 6EE.
A resolution authorizing the parish president to represent Plaquemines Parish and to execute those documents and agreements requiring the submission of an amendment for additional funding needed to complete the oyster hatchery project as provided under the State of Louisiana Gustav/Ike Recovery Grant through Community Development Block Grant funding and certifying that the urgent need national policy objective is being met.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Ms. Cooper. Mr. Puckett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This again is the oyster hatchery project, the joint project between the parish and Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Department of Wildlife and Fisheries is the total funder on this project. The only thing that Plaquemines Parish is providing is a location, a piece of property that where the project is being built, and they have another $700,000 they want to put in it, but we haven't gotten that far yet. In order for us to receive that money, we have to furnish them with an urgent need resolution, which is typical, a normal resolution that I've come before the council many, many times to get for various projects. But it meets what's called a national objective in saying this is an urgent need. We don't have other funding to put in this project.
Any questions, Mr. Turner?
Who's the private owner?
I'm not real sure what you're asking.
Well, if all we're doing is giving up the land, right, who's going to own it?
Plaquemines Parish.
So it's a hatchery that we're going to own?
That is
we gonna
correct,
manage?
but we're just not having to build it or fund it. But
Okay.
it's on our land, and the money is coming through us, and it will be owned by Plaquemines Parish.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions, audience? The machine is open on 6EE. And the ordinance passes 7-0. I'm going to move to 6FF.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Marvin?
A resolution authorizing the parish president, William Billy Nungesser, to prepare and execute those documents and agreements required in the submission of the request for project amendment for funding of Plaquemines Parish Community Development Block Grant for the GIS capacity building, to enter into and execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between Plaquemines Parish government and the State of Louisiana, Division of Administration, Office of Community Development, OCD, and to sign all documents and act on behalf of Plaquemines Parish in all matters pertaining to the project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Buras. Mr. Puckett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is, for this grant, we have to go back all the way to Hurricane Katrina and talk just for a moment about the Road Home program. If you recall, the Road Home program was a state-run program whereby the people sold their properties to the state. In the parish of Plaquemines, there were a number of properties that were sold by the state, and the state owned those properties, but when they sold them, aside from the administrative costs that the state had, any monies that were left over still belonged to Plaquemines Parish. As you all know, the Road Home program has been dissolved, or at least the department has been dissolved. That was taken over by the Office of Community Development, and there is $981,000 and the change $661.26 of program income is what it's called, program income from the Road Home program. And it has to be used relative to Hurricane Katrina and relative to what they tell me is some sort of a planning and implementation project that addresses issues with Hurricane Katrina. What we discovered in some of the projects that we've done, in particularly the Comprehensive Master Plan project and in the Joint Land Use Study, we discovered that our GIS system was, well, that's redundant, but GIS, Geographical Information Systems, is very, very inadequate to the needs that we have. And because of the damage that was caused by Hurricane Katrina relative to records and that sort of thing, we don't have nearly the capability or capacity to do what we need to do. I approached the state and asked them if that kind of project would be eligible. They have indicated to me that they felt like it would be because it would be something called a capacity planning project. And but in order to do that, I need a resolution to go after the money, and this is that resolution that allows me to go after the money and get into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the state of Louisiana for those dollars.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Puckett. Any questions, Mr. Turner?
Mr. Puckett, if I remember correctly, this was from the lot next door project. That's how they accumulated the money. And so with that, and I was dealing with being able to rebuild those who didn't come back. The bottom line is I think the money should go towards housing. Now, with that being said, but the fact that you mentioned that the purpose of doing this is because our GIS program is inadequate, the problem that I have with that is not the council that sits here today, but when I first got on board, when we hired a company to do the GIS program for us, Burt Klein Peter, another company had already started the program. Some council members wouldn't even attend the meeting to hear it, and yet we hired Burt Klein Peter to do it, right? And then, after that, one, they overcharged us, and then after that came back before the council for more money, and then today to hear that our GIS system is inadequate, I find that troubling. No reflection on you, and really no reflection on the administration. I think it's a reflection on this council, and a lot of these members weren't even here at the time, but some were, that now we're going to use this money that should be used for housing. I still think this money should be used for housing. You and I both know that even the money that was provided for housing is not enough. And so, and yet the money that generated this were those who relocated, those who lost homes. And if some of those individuals are planning to come back, the bottom line, this money should be used for housing, not for the GIS program. And it's pretty bad that we're hearing that our GIS system is inadequate, considering the millions of dollars that we paid to Burt Klein Peter. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. May I respond to that, Mr. Chairman?
Puckett.
Just for a second. And Mr. Turner, I appreciate what you're saying. I can't go back and fix the things that were done in the past like you can't, and I appreciate the fact that it's not particularly a reflection on you or on me, but I've worked very, very closely with the assessor's office in designing this program or designing this opportunity, and also with the planning and zoning department and with the GIS department. And I am sorry to say, as you are sorry to hear, that our GIS system is woefully inadequate. We truly, desperately need to do something with that. And I don't think there's much possibility that the council is going to be able to find this kind of money to be able to address this situation in the near future. And this is something we desperately, desperately need, particularly in light of the fact that currently we don't have map overlays that are accurate. We have map overlays that are somewhat in the area, but not particularly accurate. And we also have a runner that runs back and forth across the parking lot from the engineering building to the assessor's office, and we can bring all of that together, and we can do some things with our geographic information system that should be done. Whether or not it was something from the past that didn't happen correctly, I can't speak to that, but I can say that with this, we will be able to have an up-to-date and a reliable geographic information system, which we need desperately here in this parish.
Ms. Cooper?
Mr. Puckett, when you say it's inadequate, is it inadequate, or is just that things want to be added to it that weren't not initially added, like you just said? Linking the assessor's office to it, because Bert Klein people, or the people that did it's not here to answer for the inadequacies that you were saying.
I'm sorry, Ms. Cooper, when I say it's inadequate, I'm talking about inadequate for our needs and for the applications that we use it for. The things that we need, I have a significant research file that I did on it. The most commonly utilized function for us in Plaquemines Parish is what's called interpolating of sparsal locations. That is to pinpoint street addresses, 911 situations, that sort of thing, and any buy or sell, any location of properties. At this point, our system guesses at those. I'm not going to put a finger on that. I'm talking about on the responsibility. I'm just telling you what it is and where it is. And it is for the purposes of grants. I have to use it all the time. And I also have to get outside sources to get me the exact data that I need. So this is an opportunity for Plaquemines Parish at no cost to the parish to be able to get our GIS in proper, whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it condition or in proper form or properly updated, this is that opportunity, and I'm asking you to allow me to do it. And I bring to you at the same time a number of people who have asked me, who have bought into and support this, particularly in the assessor's office and in Joint Land Use Implementation Committee, and those people because, and the Planning and Zoning Committee and the GIS Department. So I ask for your support on this.
And I'll support it, but that is a basic function of the GIS program, to be able to pinpoint houses and know where our lines are. If it can't do that, right?
Thank you. It doesn't do that.
And if we hire this company again, then we're just funneling money to a particular company.
I can't address that.
Ms.
I
Cooper?
can only
I'm
tell you
willing-
what it is.
And is it going to come back before this council, before we hire any group, or, and
has to
can
come
you
back.
give us a
It has
list
to
of the
come back.
inadequacies, please?
It has to come back before the council for an appropriation. This is not appropriating money. This is just allowing me to present to the state a project and a cooperative endeavor agreement to get that project approved by the state. If and when it does get approved by the state, then I will have to come back to the council for an appropriation. My personal opinion, if you want my personal opinion, whomever we hire, and as far as I'm concerned, I would appreciate the council being involved, but they need to be a firm that can do the work. Let me put it that way.
I just don't think we're going to be able to change the company, because the reason I'm saying that, and we ought to, but the reason I'm saying that is because FEMA had already paid for a portion of the work when we hired Bert Klein, Peter, right? And they sold us on the line, well, we'll use whatever they have, whatever they've already done. Well, in a separate meeting that I had with former Senator Nunes and Bruce Baton, I told him, I said, you knew that you wouldn't be able to use their data, right? Because they're developing an entirely new system. Now, I don't know if another company can actually come in on top of what they've already done. It might be possible. We might be stuck with them. But if we can, we should use somebody else instead
The
of them.
information, and Mr. Turner, the information and research that I have done is we should be able to get a standalone from standstill system with this kind of money. And I'm sorry, all I can say is what people have told me, and that is we should have been able to back then, and we didn't do it. I can't.
I'm saying, listen, that's my personal opinion. I feel they ripped us off, and if a company takes advantage of us, I will call you out. And I believe they ripped us off.
And
they can come and defend
I
themselves.
appreciate that, and I hope you stay that way till we get this thing fixed.
Thank you. Ms. Cooper, you good? Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Machine is open on 6. Oh,
Again, I want to go along with the turn. I'm saddened by the fact that we're taking money that people desperately could use. And I'm not a betting man, but I'm willing to bet that this contract has already been, a deal already been made on that. I think Stevie Wonder could see through this. And what a different election year make with people consciousness.
thank you. The machine is open on 6FF. And the resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. We'll go back to AA, which will be deferred. AA will be deferred. Going back. BB, Miss Barbara, you want to read BB? 6BB.
An ordinance to amend the Solid Waste Fund 2014 operating expenditure budget, Solid Waste Department, line item Vehicles Heavy, and 5-year capital improvements plan for the upgrade solid waste transfer station project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Mr. Williams?
Yes, sir. Council members, this is in regards to purchasing 2 new garbage trucks, one for District 1 solid waste and District 2, that's north and south end, including the East Bank as well. Right now, we have 2 units that are outdated. We're still Band-Aiding those and keeping them operating, but we need to get rid of those and buy 2 new machines. We're looking at possibly $275 for 2 fully, I'm sorry.
Just hold on, Mr. I thought this was a transfer. Are we appropriating money from the
That's what we're going to have to appropriate as well. Can we just have it for discussion?
Can you remove your second? Okay. All right, we'll have a discussion only?
Discussion only.
Okay.
The $300,000 that you see, that's going to come from a solid waste fund that we consolidated 2 meetings ago. So that's going to purchase 1 truck. So we need 2 trucks. So we're going to need additional $275,000.
And I thought that was coming out of a fund that
We do.
We
There's
generate money.
$480,000 in there, so we were wanting to take $300 out of there.
I know, but there was another fund that we get fees off from New Orleans or something. I think I talked with Lori. It wasn't a transfer from that fund?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
It was a solid waste transfer, and then it all was consolidated into 1 fund.
Okay.
We can double check with Ms. Myers on that tomorrow, but what I want to just relay to you guys that we do and we are in need of 2 garbage trucks. We have enough to fund 1, but we are in dire need of an additional garbage truck for the north, south, and east bank.
And the last time we had a new truck was what, 12 years ago?
Absolutely. And we have all the documentations, all changes, maintenance records. We have all of that stuff as well.
Okay, Mr. Turner?
May I ask, which fund will the $400,000 be coming from?
The solid waste transfer fund, at the last council meeting, the council members, you guys consolidated north, south, and east bank transfer station funds, and it was all put into 1 budget line item. And it's
Okay.
in the budget packet.
So this legislation here is only asking for $300,000, and you have $400,000. Why don't we just do the amendment?
We're just doing this for discussion, sir, but we're gonna need additional 300. We're gonna need a total of 600,000.
Wait, but this legislation here asks for 3. You don't
Just for
wanna take-
discussion, but I wanna do an amendment. I wanna get both at one time because we'll get a good deal getting the 2 trucks. So, We can bring it up at the next meeting, but in the next 2 weeks, I will be looking for the additional 300,000. Just want to have it for discussion right now.
Okay. And just to clarify things, Byron, it was transferred 300,000 from the capital improvement transfer station, and then 300, I know, this is what we talked about. I'm just saying what we talked, 300 from the solid waste fund balance? It was two different, I thought it was two different transfers.
Okay. This is all new to me.
Okay.
We just had the one with 300, so the additional that has 335, we're good. We're good.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. It was two transfers, I thought.
Yeah. That's the true transfers. I don't,
See, the first one's coming out of the
But
solid waste.
the legislation reads it's coming out
got it.
undeserved. So you want to skip over this, or see if we could
what you saying?
get this straight?
Section 1 is coming out of the solid waste transfer station. You have 418,000 in there.
Correct.
Section 2
It's coming out of,
solid waste unreserved and designated. You've got 335,000.
so we have the two funding sources identified.
Okay.
So it's going to be a transfer of 600,000 total.
No. Yeah, it was two funds she had. The transfer.
We got the funds. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I didn't know about the 335, but I'm glad Ms. Pons was on top of that. So most definitely, we would like to move forward.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
She has it.
I have it too.
Okay.
Thank you,
We
Angie.
have to rewrite it, Miss. Okay.
If you look at the legislation, sir, it says Section 1, 300,000 from the upgrade solid waste transfer station project, District 1 division.
Okay.
And then for Section 2,
Okay.
it says, operating expenditure budget solid waste department District 2 division is amended by appropriating 300,000 from the solid waste fund, unreserved, undesignated. So you have two different funding sources.
It's not coming out the unreserved, it's coming out the solid waste.
Solid waste, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You want to strike out the,
Solid waste fund. Yes, that's the name of the fund.
okay,
That's the name of the fund.
That was fine.
Yes, sir. We don't want to change that.
Okay.
No, I know, but I'm just, it's that tail end of it that I want to see whether
That's the name of the fund.
the whole, the solid waste fund, unreserved, undesignated.
Why are we making this difficult?
Is that, okay.
Angie can clear it for us.
I'm clearing it for him too, but I mean, he's making it difficult. It's in the budget. It's in the budget book. That's how it's written out. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Angie.
All right, I'm going to ask, who had a second? Attorney, can you remove your second?
Yes, remove the second, please.
Okay, so I'm going to offer with the same legislation, no scratching out,
Yes, sir.
okay? And it's all it is a transfer.
That's correct.
Okay, I'll ask for a second, Mr. Turner.
I second.
Second it again. Okay, any questions from the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6BB. And the ordinance passes 7-0. We'll move to 6CC.
An ordinance to amend the General Fund 2014 Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Judges 25th JDC Division B, and Juvenile Division Department, Personal Services line items, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Ms. Cooper. Rennie, you know about, I mean, we're just moving money from,
Yeah, apparently there's a temporary position and a full-time position. I think the full-time position might be funded, so he's looking to transfer his 10,000 to part-time position so we can hire
okay. Any questions?
I'm reading it as being just the opposite, and maybe I'm not reading it correctly, but on line 6, whereas it was requested a decrease in the salary from one part-time research attorney position by
Yeah.
10,000 and to increase the salary of a full-time.
I'm sorry, then I misspoke. It is a reverse, but it doesn't have the money's already in the budget.
He's just moving money around his budget.
Right, but But see, here's what ends up happening, right? I guess a concern I have is that, right, we just given a $10,000 raise because there's money in the budget there. And what's the justification? The person is already a full-time employee. How do we justify just giving them a $10,000 raise? Now, the budget for the part-time employee, sometimes we'll put money in the budget, and depending on the number of hours they work, they might not utilize that entire amount. So we reduce that budget by $10,000, and we might not even be touching the salary of the part-time employee. That we don't know. But to automatically just give a person a $10,000 raise just because there's money in the budget, I don't think we should do that. There needs to be some justification, because we're talking to a person who's already on the payroll. That's my concern. I'm not in favor of it,
Okay,
as it is written.
Any other questions? Audience? The machine is open on 6CC. And the ordinance fails 4 yes, 1 no from District 6, and 2 abstentions from 7 and 9. 4, 2, 1. We'll move to 6GG.
An ordinance authorizing and directing Parish President William Billy Nungesser to prepare and advertise a request for qualifications for professional services to collect alligator eggs on parish property and recompense the parish for the same, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer an X for second. Second by Ms. Cooper. Rennie, can you help me out on the eggs?
Yes, sir. It's come to the administration's attention that apparently there's some poaching of alligator eggs going on throughout the parish. And some other parishes, what they do is they, for a fee, they allow others to come on the property and charge a fee to take our eggs, whatever is permitted by wildlife and fishery, whatever that figure may be. And so we currently aren't taking advantage of this. I've heard an estimate upwards of maybe $80,000 that the parish could benefit from this. But all this ordinance does is allow us to go out for qualifications and see what those numbers could in fact be. Obviously, if we were to engage someone, we'd have to come back before the council and get a contract signed.
And this would be regulated by Wildlife and Fisheries?
Well, right. The number of eggs that you can take out of a given area, or that an oyster hatchery, an alligator egg hatchery has, they get a certain number of eggs, a permit or a license from Wildlife and Fisheries. So, yes. So the whole program is regulated by Wildlife and Fishery.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Ms. Cooper?
And I have a question. It says that we go out and advertise a request for qualifications. And this may be something that you might want to put out for bid, because you have different people that have alligator hatcheries, and it's, it's more or less like a business that would come and bid on the privilege of taking eggs off of parish property. So you may want to look into that instead of just going out for qualifications, because what if we have 3 or 4, and who's to say which hatchery gets the job?
Right. I mean, certainly, I don't want to play semantics, but essentially that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to do a bid. So if the council feels more comfortable changing the language from qualifications to bid, we're certainly fine with that.
Would you feel comfortable doing that? Okay.
Well, that's true.
Okay.
We could. The language is. The going out for the request for qualifications doesn't hurt us. It's a professional service. The companies, the various companies throughout the state are going to give us some information. We're going to review that information. We can contact those companies at that point, figure out what the differences are, and present a proposal to the council. And then if the council doesn't like or doesn't think it's sufficient based on the information we glean, then certainly we can then go out for bid. A request for qualifications doesn't bind us. would not bind us to a particular company at that point. The issue with this is it's new for us, so we don't know exactly what to expect. And so that's why I think we chose the language qualifications as opposed to something that we regularly bid out.
Give me 30 seconds on this, Owen. Give it 30 seconds. Mr. Rathburn's writing something up for me.
Amend the ordinance, and so that when we receive the qualifications, we can then bring those qualifications back to the council and find out, what we discovered.
And then from there, if we think that it should be a bid process, then we could take it from there?
Yes, ma'am, certainly. We're not going to engage in any business, off of the qualifications unless the council gives approval. Because it's a professional service.
Well, I don't know.
But because it's a professional service, it doesn't necessarily require a bid, but can be bid.
What bothers me is, and I know I'm not trying to be difficult, but you're going to put out professional, let's see, for qualification. Who's to say that that's got a $2 million hatchery and Jerry whatever over here with the small farm, and who's going to say he's more qualified? Why should he get the eggs when this poor little man isn't going to be able to do that? And are we going to allow more than one person to get them? I guess when you're not familiar with the commercial fishing industry, you don't have these questions. But being familiar with it, it's a good question.
Well, that's right, Ms. Cooper. I mean, I think, once again, the reason we're using the language qualifications is that this is our first go-around at this, and what we'd like to see is what various people do. I mean, so we don't know what I can't put together a bid package right now because I don't know enough about the industry to say what it is they can offer the parish. And so that's why the language is qualifications. I need to know from industry, and I think I have a few emails out to a couple of the other parishes who engage in this kind of activity to review their contracts and see what they do. So that's why we chose the language we chose.
Mr. Rathburn?
All right, thank you.
Section 2.
Okay. Ms. Cooper, I'm going to ask you to remove your second.
I'll remove my second.
All right, I'm going to offer 6GG with changes. The changes will be, after Section 1, we're going to add a Section 2. And it will read, upon receipt of the responses to the request of qualifications, the administration shall report the response to the council prior to negotiation or entering into a contract. Before. Okay, with that, I'll offer, Ms. Cooper. Second. Are there any questions on that? Audience? The machine is open on 6GG. A Gabe. And the ordinance passes 7-0. 6HH. I'm sorry, Ms. Hinkle. Yeah, let's move on. Move on 6HH, Ms. Barber.
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan for the LA 23 widening project, Jefferson/Plaquemines Parish line to Engineers Road in Plaquemines Parish, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'm going to offer with changes.
Hinkle's offer with changes.
Changes are on line 29. We're
Wait,
going
hold
to...
on, hold on. They still getting passed out.
That's good. They'll see what I'm talking about. They're written in, Kirk. Line 29, we're striking out appropriating, and we're adding in transferring. Striking out 70,000, and we're putting 78,867 from the Medal of Honor Park Lagoon project. Line 32, we're striking out appropriated from the general fund, unreserved, undesignated fund balance. With that, I offer.
You're offering? I'll second, Mr. Hinckley.
Right. This is a lighting project that goes in conjunction with the road project that is going to be happening here sometime in the near future from the Bell Chase Bridge to the parish line.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Audience, the machine's open on 6HH.
I'm sorry, this 6HH? Six HH, right?
Yes, and ordinance passes 6-1 with no vote from District 6. 6II.
A resolution to declare the Monday before Mardi Gras as an approved holiday for Plaquemines Parish government employees and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Turner? You offering?
I offer.
I'll second it.
A parish employee had brought it to my attention. I hadn't even considered it, and when the question was raised, considering, you know, they're off that Saturday, Sunday, and then Mardi Gras is, you know, is Tuesday. Kids are out of school, opportunity to do things with the family. I don't see where it would hurt the parish allowing employees to be off the day prior to Mardi Gras just to participate in the festivities. So that's what this is about.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any questions? Yep, Ms. Cooper?
This is just for this year?
Just this year,
You're
yes.
gonna take it year by year?
This year. Any questions, audience? The machine is open on 6II. And the resolution passes 7-0. 6JJ will be deferred. 6KK, Ms. Cooper? Okay.
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan for the boat hoist Venice Shipyard project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Cooper?
With changes.
Okay.
On line 7, instead of security cameras, Venice Boat Harbor project, make it undesignated, unreserved fund, and also the same on line 14.
We're not transferring, we taking it out unreserved?
Yeah, take 7,000 out of there. We already have 30,000 in the boat hoist Venice Boat Harbor project, but we're gonna move that to the boat hoist Venice Shipyard project. 7,000 from undesignated, unreserved, and transfer the other 30,000 that's already there.
Okay. With those changes you're offering,
Yes.
I'll second. Mr. Cooper?
This extra straps on the travel hoist because we need the more support for the bigger boats, to pick up the bigger boats and to pick them up evenly without doing harm to the boats.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Lyon. Any questions? Audience, the machine's open on 6KK. And the ordinance passes 7-0. 6LL,
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements.
deferred, I'm sorry. 6LL will be deferred. 6MM, you would, take it under Mr. Edgecombe.
A resolution approving the request for conditional use by Chevron Pipeline Company for the property in an A2 rural or agricultural zoning district to be used for a telecommunications tower at 34115 Highway 11, Buras, Louisiana, all in accordance with application number ZCU-2013-1 dated December 13, 2013.
Mr. Edgecombe, you offering on
Yes,
behalf of Mr. Marinovich?
That's correct, sir.
I'll second it.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Edgecombe? You know.
It's basically a rezoning for Chevron to put a tower actually within their fenced area already. And according to the paperwork, and Mr. Marinovich did a little bit of homework, so did I. And there was basically no opposition to it whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Turner, you?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, because I'm an employee of Chevron, for that reason, I'll be abstaining
Okay.
from the
You
vote.
present, not voting?
Present, not voting
Okay, thank you.
due to the conflict as
Any
an
other
employee.
questions? The machine is open on 6MM. And the resolution passes 6-0. I'm gonna revert back to introductions. Do you have any down here that need? I have one. An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvement plan for the public sewage Belchase Sewer Treatment Plant Law Receipt Project and LRA Sewer Improvement Projects otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Anyone else has any more? All right, we'll move to 7, new business. Mr. Turner, A. Public comments regarding Hurricane Isaac.
Follow-up from the last council meeting, I had mentioned about the work that was being done in Happy Jack, in the drainage canal, the cleaning up there, and I asked about Lake Hermitage, cleaning canals there. What's the status on that?
There was a meeting, as I indicated. There has been nothing confirmed by FEMA as of today that is going to be taken care of by FEMA. But we are moving forward with that project because a version has been written. It has not been obligated. But we are moving forward to get Deer Range and all those canals in there dredged. Mr. Hinyap has been very, very staying on top of this with the engineering department. Right now, there was no paperwork several months ago. Now the paperwork is moving forward to get that done. But we don't have the resources in-house to do those drainage canals. But it is moving forward through the FEMA process.
And the other question, the project in Happy Jack, was that Isaac related? How is that being paid for? Is that Isaac related?
I am not sure. I didn't get an answer on that. I'm still trying to get information on that.
Our guys? That's our guys doing that, not a contractor? Well, they're doing outstanding work. Very good. All right.
You good, Mr. Turner?
Yes.
And let's see, you want to move to 6B, 7B?
7B, the update. One thing, I was hoping to bring it up during the president's update. Had someone come by the office yesterday concerning the creosote pilings. And it's really in the Belchase area around the dollar store. And the health department, according to our ordinance, I think they gave all of us a copy of the ordinance that pertains to. And my conversation with Raymond yesterday was that the ordinance says that an inspection is supposed to be done. He's done an inspection, but it says a report is supposed to be given to the Board of Health. My understanding is we don't have a Board of Health, or do we? That is the health department itself. Okay. Well, I'm requesting that a copy of that report comes to the council, what action. And I don't think one was done at that time, but he needs to do an inspection and do a report because we want to know how it's going to be addressed.
All right.
Was there anything else from our office, Ms. Auger?
Good.
Thank you.
Move to 7C, which will be deferred. Move to 8, approve of the minutes of the February 13, 2014 meeting. I'll offer. Ask for second. Second by Mr. Burris. Approval of the meetings. And approval is 7-0. I'll entertain an offer to adjourn. Mr. Hinckley has made an offer to adjourn, second by Mr. Gui. I'm sorry, Ms. Okay. I have,
Which one, ours?
It has been offered by Mr. Hinckley to adjourn, second by Mr. Gui. The machine is open for adjournment. And we are, 6-0, we adjourned at 4:06.